Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And with me today is a very special guest. And it's been a long time since we've had him on the show, so I'm happy to welcome back Mr. Null. How are you, sir?
Hello. It's very nice to talk to you again.
Yeah, man, it's been a long time. And finally, we have a subject to reconnect on. It is brought to you by
last
Netflix.
time I think we talked about Section 230 was the last time we spoke. It was a long time ago. It felt like it's probably been like half a year.
Something like that. Way too long, in my opinion. But yeah, it's last time we talked was about 230, and of course a whole bunch of weird stuff has happened on that front. We have like executive orders and threats to modify it, and I think I've moved I have my principled position about 230, but I think on the practical level I've moved much closer to where you are, where I just don't even if I think they should change something, I don't think they can do it competently, so just leave it the hell alone. Type thing. But
well, I gravitated towards you a little bit, just a little bit. I believe that
we're becoming fence-sitting middle cucks.
Well, no, if they change anything, section 47, section 230, C2A, you can strike that. I think you can take that off, and that alone will do anything. And that's the paragraph about any action voluntarily taken in good faith to restrict access to or availability of material that the provider or user considers to be obscene, lewd, lascivious, filthy, etc., whether or not such material is constitutionally protected. I think if you take that off, or even just, I don't know, because you just have to make it so that if people decide to cut you off, you can sue them. Because there are entire businesses now that rely on Facebook, and if Facebook decides that you don't get to use Facebook anymore, your entire company is gone in a way that's never existed in society ever. Like, I don't know, except for maybe like the coal mining towns where like you had to work with tickets.
Those old corporate towns where they had full control over like everything that you did was for the corporation. I think in some weird ways, some of these sites are becoming like that, at least limited to the commercial purposes of businesses. And yeah, I mean, I think restricting access to them is devastating. I mean, I could probably myself calculate out some sort of losses from when Twitter, tossed my account off. I'm still 20,000 or about 15,000 followers shy of where I was when I got kicked off. And there's just no way to recover from, like, there's no way to recover an account for what you lose when they remove you. But yeah, as far as just about everything else, I think it should kind of stay. But but anyway, but yeah, man. So tonight, just so everybody knows, we have a couple topics in mind that we were talking about before the stream. The big one, of course, is the normalization of child exploitation, which just seems to be cropping up all over the place and in all of the mainstream avenues, as well as the news. And then with the most recent edition being Cuties on Netflix. Oh my goodness. Cuties on Netflix. And then the other topic, I think you were going to drop some Greer news on me that does not involve him suing a celebrity woman, if I'm not mistaken.
No, from my understanding, he is in trouble now because he's actually been formally pressed with cyberstalking charges in his state of Utah.
Oh no!
And I'm still catching up myself. I just vaguely knew that he is in trouble for electronic communication harassment, 2 counts of that. And what caught my attention was that I think the victim wanted him to get help, so the court offered him, plea out and accept court mandated psychological help. And Greer decided, no, actually, I want a jury trial. And he's I think he's defending himself pro se.
Perfect.
Because I've seen. I'm pretty sure he's pro se, and he filed that petition. I do want to show you this picture. Maybe you can throw this up on stream.
If you do a share screen on the Hangout, it'll display right in your spot on the screen. Depending on how detailed you need it to be. If it needs to be really detailed, I'll send me a link and I can.
No, I think just throw this GIF up on your OBS or whatever, if you can.
Yeah, give me just a second.
If you're wondering how it's going, how Russell feels about this, if he's happy with his life choices, I think this GIF really sums it up.
Okay, give me a second. I'll pull it up for the chat to see, and just.
Oh no, I'm sorry. He is not pro se. He does have a lawyer. He just sits there and looks angry the entire time.
So here is.
It's funny that he decided to have a lawyer. I didn't think he would allow himself to do that.
Yeah, I thought he would let his elite counsel skills carry the day, but that is Russell for the chat. He is there. Hopefully, you guys can see that he's truly a gem to society. And anyway, so that here, let me get rid of this. So that's Russell. So he's where did that GIF come from? Is it from the Zoom meeting that they have for court cases now, or?
Yeah, the court cases are all on Zoom. That seems ridiculous. Even the jurors are meeting up by Zoom.
We used to have this thing where you have to sequester juries and keep them away from news and the internet and all of this stuff. Now they're on Zoom, just hanging out, definitely watching porn in their other window or whatever.
I've never been asked to appear for jury trial, but I always imagined what an asshole I would be in jury trial, how I would obstruct everything. I would always push for jury nullification for no reason, just because I want to say I did it, right? And now my headcanon is ruined because you can't do that online. You have to have a 12 Angry Men situation where you're locked in and it's hot as hell and the window barely works. That's the environment where you can get your way.
You have to be able to ruin everybody else's time to the point where they're willing to back off from calling someone guilty. But that's my dream too. I was talking about it the other day where I've never been called for jury duty either, and I can't wait. I will try and obscure the fact that I'm a lawyer, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm an entertainer and a online commentator, and they'll be like, oh okay, you're just an idiot then. I'll be, yeah, perfect. And so then I'll get into the jury room and I'll be like, okay guys, let me tell you something. I'm actually a lawyer, and let me tell you about jury nullification, because we have the potential to ruin a prosecutor's entire day right now. And just remember, this same asshole is giving you parking tickets and giving you petty fines all over the place, and we can ruin his whole day just with a not guilty.
There's probably some kind of MK Ultra program. They did manage to figure out mind reading, but all they use it for is to figure out who knows about jury nullification, so they can never ever send them a jury notice, because we'll never be summoned ever, just because we know. Yeah, and they know that we know.
That was the actual plot of The Men Who Stare at Goats. That was their actual mission. It was just sensationalized for TV, I think. We got to stop jury nullification immediately. Get George Clooney on it. But okay, let's get into this normalization of child exploitation bit. And right before we do, there are a couple super chats. I don't know if you know this, but I am shooting for grifting champion, so I have to make sure and keep on top of these.
You already won that. Yeah. Well, you already won that. I voted for you. Just so you know.
It's still my heart. You get me? Wait, I thought I still had to defeat Ralph. So I know I.
Oh, do
I
you
know
have to? Or you still have a heads up?
because I
thought
beat Dick,
I thought it
but
was
that was the semifinals.
Dick was the fun. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Dick was in the
Okay,
semis.
I'll vote for you against Ralph.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. I am. I think it's on hold because of recent weird events that I don't know if we're going to discuss them or not. But I haven't seen the new. I haven't seen the new bracket go up or with the finals challenge yet. But I am gunning for it. So.
Yeah, you're an easy win over Ralph. I think. I'll just say that.
There we go. Fac Uniga says, Null, your friends, Mundane Matt, Kraut, PPP, and Godwinson all have said repeatedly that Ralph is a pedo. What's your position? Revised to find a spelling that would send. Apparently.
Oh, do I think Ralph is a pedophile? No,
Yeah.
I don't. I think he likes young girls like 18 because they're naive. I've said this before. He likes naive girls, and they dump him once they become less naive.
Sure.
I've said that before. I do not think he's a pedophile though, and I don't appreciate people who just kind of throw that out there.
Yeah, I know.
Because
you are not a fan of people slinging the pedo around. Like that is not. That's something you made very clear.
No, my
on the
rule
forums.
is that. Yeah, if I don't think I could shoot them and like feel comfy about it, I can't. I have to be so convinced of it that I could do that. Otherwise, it's unnecessary.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying. Bad Vibe says children do dumb things. It shouldn't be putting it on display, nor should big media be exploiting minors. We have labor laws regarding minors for a reason. Why is Hollyweird exempt? Because it's art, bro. I guess.
Well, they're not. Like I know that when they shot God, what was it? Oh, shows how young I am. It's the one with it has the really famous house that has like the two stories and the two windows up front. When they shot that movie, I think it was like the first Freddy movie. Fuck if I know.
Nightmare on
They
Elm
had to
Street?
shoot all the nighttime scenes in the morning. Yeah, I think so. They had to shoot all the nighttime scenes in the morning because the little kid it was not legal for him to be up at night. They had to shoot very early morning instead.
God, that would suck.
Amityville Horror.
Oh, so Amityville.
Yeah.
Man, that was late 70s. I wonder if they've relaxed that now due to the specific nature of like acting, because acting does get a lot of exemptions. For example, obviously they're not held to any sort of like equal opportunity standards, because if a cast requires a man or a woman of a particular race, they're not required to like audition a bunch of people of different races and stuff like that. They're exempt from a lot of it due to the nature of the subject. But I bet in the 70s they weren't. And I wonder if or at least with regards to child labor restrictions, I wonder if they have less or more flexibility about that now. I could see that being something they slowly change over the past couple decades, but I have no idea. But I think he was mostly just making the comparison like we protect minors with labor laws. We should be protecting them from being exploited on shows like Cuties and stuff like that. Matthew Neidig says, what's up, Nick? Long time no see. Hey, what's up, man? And hello, Null. Glad you're doing better. Are you doing better?
Hi, thank you. Oh yeah, I made a joke about like the whole sacrificing Ralph to the harvest thing, but as soon as he started having like a tantrum spiral, like almost everything I had been worrying about for like 6 to 3 months, a long time, kind of just resolves immediately. Like all the problems just kind of fix themselves in a single week. So I'm very thankful for Ralph's selflessness in this matter because it definitely worked.
It was very polite of him. Okay, Ryan Gordon says the DNC is a joke, a bad joke. Somehow still a funny joke, though. They must have Jeff Dunham in the background pulling the strings. If only Biden was capable of saying another left turn. Did you see the Bidening ad that Trump put out? By chance?
No. What?
It's
is Is Trump like making?
I can't.
Is he like making fun of Biden sniffing stuff?
Yes.
And I think there's like a weird delay.
Oh. Might just be the internet here. Let me see.
Yeah, it could be.
Sorry about that.
We're a couple thousand miles apart. I guess that's natural.
So you want everybody to believe. I've heard you're actually just in Texas or whatever.
We're closer now than we've ever been. I'm still in my mother's basement in Pensacola, which is built on sand and which does not have basements.
That's right. Well, again, hers does though. Hers does. She had a special basement built.
Oh yeah,
it's constantly flooding. People think you're sweating.
It pumped up the water table and everything.
No, so the ad, it's Trump put it out. It's a campaign ad called. It's not called The Bidening. That's what it says at the very end. Let me see what the title is. I could play it for the stream, but it always comes across weird on Hangouts. So I'll send you the link, and if you want to watch it, you can. It's called Inspired by Actual Events. Here, I'm gonna put it in here. I'll put it in the chat here.
Is it really just him sniffing people? Did Trump really do that?
It's not just.
I mean, I guess it's effective. Why not?
It's not just that. It's funnier. It's more in depth. I mean, we could watch it. I could put it up on the stream if we want to do.
No, I'm watching it now on 2x.
Okay. Watching it on 2x. It's like a minute long.
He really does come across as like insane.
Yeah.
What? Wow.
He teleports behind him.
It's like a comedy edit or like a horror movie, like scary movie or something.
Yeah, that's what they're going for.
Bizarre.
That's what they're going for.
Our country is fucking weird.
This is you know what's weird is I think it's back. I almost want to say that's like back to what politics kind of used to be, because whenever anybody's like, oh, it's never been this bad before, someone always references the old the race between like John Adams and someone else or whatever, and where they're calling their kids hermaphrodites and stuff.
My mom talked about that when I was a kid, about how viciously they fucking hated each other, how to what extremes they went to destroy each other politically. I don't know. It's I think you're right. I think it actually is probably a return to tradition, because the whole like suit and tie, can't have done anything wrong ever your entire life shit, that's recent. That's really recent. I think that's like a weird formality. That was a symptom of how all our politicians are like picked ahead of time. They're like groomed as children to be politicians. Like there's like a very small pool of people. Yeah, because if like I could never be a politician, you know what I mean? Like even if I had the best position and strategy to fix things, there's no way I could ever be a politician, just because of all the horrible things I've said and done. You need someone who, like, at the age of 6 decided he was going to be a politician, went to a private school, went to an Ivy League college, networked extensively, got corporate funding as soon as they came out of college, got their law degree, became a aide to the congressman and whatever. That, like, you have to go through this weird ritual
and only ever have a LinkedIn.
It used to be like exactly. And it used to be like the town blacksmith would say, fuck this, I'm gonna run because the guys that are in office right now suck, and then he would win, and then that would be your politician. So maybe it is a return to form, who knows? I
hope so, because I don't remember who said it. I've heard several people kind of repeat it, so I don't know the genesis of it, but basically it was in 30 years, every politician is going to have nudes on the internet already. And
that was me. That was me that said that.
You get the attribution for the legendary quote then. Because I think it's dead on. We're just going to have to come to grips with people being naked, because in the future, like half of our Congress people are going to have nudes online, and that's just going to be a reality of our world, that people are people and they're stupid and bad things happen to them, right? Yeah, and now everything's recorded somewhere. There's a hot mic somewhere. There's that. Did you see the Cincinnati Reds announcer in the middle of a game? He got caught on a hot mic saying, "What was it? It was and I quote him. This is not me. I would never say these gamer words. He said something was the fag capital of the world." And he's like, "Oh, we go live to the game," and then on the broadcast, he like goes ahead and announces his apology and basically resigns himself to never working again. God, it was great.
I'm not familiar with that one, but I am familiar with the nappy-headed hose statement that ruined that guy.
Don Imus. Don Imus dropped the nappy-headed hose a while back. And then there was a photographer for the Houston Rockets, an NBA photographer, and he reposted a meme when Kamala Harris was announced, and it was Joe and the Ho, and he was fired forever from the NBA. He's gone because he called Kamala Harris a hoe, I guess. So that, but it's at some point, like everybody's stuff is going to be out there. But I've got the chat requesting I play the Bidening ad, so I'm gonna go ahead and run it. If you want to watch along with us, I'll give a 3, 2, 1 countdown. If you want to hit play, just so we're in real time. But since it's only a minute, we can do it.
Sure. Yep.
All right. So 3, 2, 1, go.
No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
My memory is not as good as. Am I doing this again?
Please clarify specifically, have you taken a cognitive
No,
test?
I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying you, before you got in this program, you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not. What do you think, huh? Are you a
What
junkie?
do you say to President Trump, who brags about his tests and makes your state an issue for voters?
American public judge
teleport
my physical
kills
and mental my physical as well as my mental fitness. Why?
Connected. No idea why. We should be back in just a second. Okay, guys. No idea what happened there, but the Streamlabs just
Biden got
disconnected.
you.
So, Josh and I were here just fine, chatting away.
He teleported behind you, pulled the plug out.
Yeah.
Because you were talking bad about him.
Yeah, Joe's like, "What the hell, man? You some kind of junkie?" Disconnected my Ethernet cable. Oh my god.
That I had never heard that comment before. He asked that black guy, "Are you on cocaine?" That's excellent.
Yeah.
That's the funniest thing he's done so far.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a couple times where he's been, and I'm not trying to make this into like an SJW crusade against Joe Biden. I don't care about Joe Biden, but I just want to point out that the couple times I've seen him on an interview with a black host, he has had really weird interactions with them. They're like, I'm not attributing it to racism. I think he's just maybe uncomfortable with something, but there's, he had this one, and then he had the You Ate Black one as well. If you saw that, where he's like, if you don't vote
that was
for,
also excellent.
yeah. And it's like, what, Joe, what is happening here? Why are you like this with black hosts? What's going on? Are you just unable to deal with it? But anyway, one more chat is from Viden, the cold one, and he says, "For the grift, good luck on the competition." Hey, thank you, Viden. Thank you. But yeah, so we had to get a little bit of the stuff. I am interested and excited in this election season because I think it's going to be ridiculous. I think so many people think that this election matters more than any other election ever, that there will be stops pulled out left and right, and it's going to be a disaster.
It doesn't. This election is one of the least important because I don't think Biden has a chance in hell.
Yeah, but they're
people,
really trying to sell that he's
they think
winning, so it's going to be.
Yeah,
it's going to be fraud. Is
I
how
guess.
either person's elected is going to be the narrative. But
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I can't imagine him winning because he's like his presence on stage is just way worse than Hillary Clinton's. And the funny thing is that I remember when Bernie Sanders was running against him. This was actually the funniest thing in the entire year, probably, was when he was up against Sanders. And everyone was like, Joe Biden is barely duct taped together. He's on a cocktail of medications. He can't do any kind of any statement by himself. He needs help. Wait till the debates. Sanders will wreck Biden. And then Biden gets on stage on the debates and completely destroys Bernie Sanders. Just makes him look like a retard when that should have been Sanders' strong point. And he was, I don't know if they gave him like an extra dose or what, but all the weird stuff he does. Yeah, no, for 1 hour or whatever, Biden was completely composed, made no weird remarks, and was very, very eloquent in taking down everything that Sanders had to say about him. And it was actually phenomenal to watch, just because it was so unexpected. And people were having a complete and total meltdown on Twitter because Sanders had completely fucked up.
Yeah,
and it did cost him the election. So now if they can't keep dosing him like that, he's gonna and have him on stage against Trump. It's going to be an absolute train wreck.
Well, I don't know if we're going to get any on stage against each other for this entire election cycle. Like they've canceled debates and they keep pushing them back and denying them and all this stuff. And because of the COVID scare, and it's like, oh my God, get these guys on stage together. We have to do it. There's too much comedy being left on the table if we have these idiots just sitting behind the bunkers lobbing ads. I mean, I like the ads because they're funny, but I want to see these guys up on stage because I think one of them might start yelling or going to like a slap fest or something. There's just too much potential for craziness. And we need it to happen.
Just put glass domes around their sides, because what's going to happen is they're going to meet at the middle and start pushing on the glass, pointing at the other person, and they're both going to do that. And they're going to be like touching each other through the glass, yelling into their microphones.
We need those American Gladiators, the giant hamster balls that the gladiators would get in and roll around in. So they get clack against each other while they're yelling. I'll kill you, you old man. Oh my God, that'd be great. Keep them apart. All right, well, let's get into the topic here of child exploitation and it being normalized in media. And I wanted to get your opinion on Cuties. I mean, I think I know what it is based on what I've seen on Twitter, and it's probably pretty similar to mine. But what do you think's going on with this show?
It's just softcore child porn. Everything about it. You can tell Netflix apologized for the cover, and the cover is gross. Yeah. What's interesting about the covers is that the French version is very different from the American version. The French version does a better job of trying to make it look like a coming of age tale for girls as opposed to men. But the American cover just looks like a child like pageant type thing. They're all half naked, and it just looks like absolute trash. And people were thinking, why did they dumb this down for the American audience? Why did they make this so sexual for the American audience? But really, I think it's the other way around, where they made the French cover toned down for the European audience as opposed to amplifying it for the Americans. Because if you read the synopsis and if you watch the trailer, there's no way you can mistake this as like a coming of age tale, because it's just not. Like if you watch Bo Burnham's 8th Grade, it kind of touches on coming of age as a girl more tastefully. Mm-hmm. There's not like a weird shot where it zooms in on her crotch at any point. If you watch Little Miss Sunshine, that incorporates a dance routine with a girl who's I think like 8 to 10 in a child beauty pageant, and the message is very clear based on the way that it's shot and executed, that the director is saying that this is absolute trash, and the moral of the story is that family is more important than LA. LA is a shithole. Don't try to become a child beauty star because you'll be exploited by pedophiles, because the host of the pageant is obviously like a pedophile, like a Chester.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no exploitative shots of Little Miss Sunshine either. It's done so tastefully, despite it being so creepy and weird. And people comparing, this shit to 8th Grade or to Little Miss Sunshine are doing a great misservice to those films.
So what about the argument that I've seen tossed around by several people, including in my comment section, because I covered this yesterday on my live stream, and we watched the trailer, and I determined that basically everyone involved should get the gas. But what about the comment that the writer wrote it, intending to show the dangers, like, because according to the writer, it was autobiographical about her experiences of getting into this mimicry culture that led to over-sexualization or something like that. How do you respond, good sir?
The synopsis does not say that. Interestingly, when they described the movie, which by the way, Netflix, since they're on backpedal right now, they edited the description of their movie to remove twerking and replace it with free-spirited dancing as a description, which I find personally hilarious. But the argument that it is just like a commentary on something that she's experienced, number one, doesn't even matter because of how it's shot. But number two doesn't seem to ring true, because if you wanted to tell that, you wouldn't glorify it by the way that she has. I'll give you I was thinking about this because I think that this will cause problems, but it will also not cause any legal issues. I was thinking about if someone came out, a director, and they put together a film about having been the victim of abuse as a child, and they make the creative decision to include 5 minutes of child pornography starring them as a child, because she feels that for artistic reasons, she has to show that for the audience to catch the full impact of what she experienced. Would that be acceptable? And I think the answer is no. And no. I think that in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll probably get something like that. There was a review by a woman in regards to this movie who saw it at Sundance, who said that, it's a white woman reviewing the movie. So it's like, it's so nice to see, a POC French woman,
How nice
Israeli
for the
background
black people
making a
to
movie
come
like
up with
this.
Something good. Oh my God. You can read it just by saying white woman reviewing it at Sundance.
She desperately wants to like this movie and see it as a triumph. But in her review, she says the camera is treating these 11-year-olds like they're adults. It's invading them like it would an adult. And it's a 11-year. It's a story about a coming of age 11-year-old, and the movie is rated MA. So I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. I really don't want to, but just off the trailer, there are camera movements in the trailer that if they were GIFs posted on 8chan during the height of 8chan being used by pedophiles, I would have deleted them as a moderator because they fail the DOS standard.
Yeah, what is the DOS?
But those are individual shots.
I've seen it.
The DOS standard
but what is it exactly?
Is a 4-pronged test that was set forth by the Supreme Court to determine obscenity regarding child photography.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, now that makes more sense.
And
I've forgotten the name of it.
And it focuses on things like the context of the material. It focuses on the focus of the camera, what it's looking at, if it has artistic value. And for a lot of the 2 shots in particular where it just goes, it like zooms in on genitals. It's like, this is just exploitation. There's no artistic merit to this.
Right. Yeah, because there are still protected, and I'm not a big fan of this at all. I think the DOS standard need to be more strictly applied or whatever. But there are artistic pieces, lots of photography pieces, and one of the ones that came up recently, I say, it was about a year, maybe 2 years ago, was something called like Boys of War or something. And the photographer was taking nude, non-sexual photos of like these third world boys in war zones and stuff like that. And it was, was hailed for all of his artistic brilliance. And I'm like, that guy's just taking pictures of naked kids. Just throw them off a bridge or whatever. But
you have to be careful, because there was the very famous picture from Vietnam that basically ended the Vietnamese War, where it's just like the kids running down the street away from napalm. I maybe that's what he's going for. I don't know, but if that's like all he's doing, that seems kind of creepy.
Let's see. Let me see if I can find the story about it real quick. Boys of War photography, something like that. Oh God, I'm not gonna find it. It's not. I think I've got the actual title wrong, but I remember it being a story. I might have even talked about it on the channel when it happened, but it was yeah, and I almost want to say he was like in the pictures with him. It was certainly not children running away from atrocity and like in disheveled clothing or, like because they're so destitute that they had to be in tattered rags or something that revealed. No, it wasn't anything like that. It was non-sexual, but they were all nude pictures, and it was awkward. Very, very awkward sort of stuff. And
yeah, it sounds awkward, and you have to be careful with like international agencies. There was a time where I was considering joining the UN. I was thinking like, it would be really fun to go to some place like Zimbabwe and set up networking for the UN. And then I decided against it because there was so much like rampant like child abuse scandals going on in the UN at the time. I'm like, fuck it, this isn't worth it. I don't want to put myself in that situation.
Yeah,
which is telling, because I'm wanting to go to Zimbabwe or Syria and set up computers, but I don't want to be around these people because they're like dangerous.
Yeah, there's you gotta, I don't know. Things are so. This world's weird, man. The stuff that I think should be endangered isn't, and the stuff that I think should be protected is dangerous. But that's me. So okay, but so back to this. Yeah, I think with Cuties in particular, what I noticed about the trailer is it's very, and when I found out that it premiered at Sundance like a couple years back, I watched it and I was like, okay, so it looks like it's trying to push a narrative about something, whatever the narrative may be. And I don't know, like I can read the director's intent that she now, she says, well, this is what I was trying to do with it. And I think if I give her the benefit of the doubt, I can say, okay, that's fine, but other people are involved. And I don't know that her vision was faithfully executed, maybe. If I'm being generous, that's about as far as I'll go with her statements. But like you said, there could be a daring and brave decision to do something, and it can still be unacceptable. And it can still be exploitative, and it can still put children at risk. And one of the key reasons that child porn is banned is not just the damage done to the children who's a victim of the particular photography. It's the idea that creating the market around the exploited children exposes more children to exploitation, and children are particularly vulnerable and unable to protect themselves.
Yes. Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that. So to reiterate, the main concern, besides protecting the dignity of the victim or whatever, is the desire not to create a black market. Because if you think about it, some people have advocated, for instance, we had Allison Rapp, who was a Nintendo employee that we, during the height of Gamergate, she wrote a thesis statement on why the UN should stop pressuring Japan to criminalize child pornography more harshly. And a lot of her arguments were about how the same arguments they hear with like Lolicon, the possession of child pornography is likely to reduce a predator's instinct to prey on children, and all sorts of shit like that, which I don't find compelling at all. If you could possess it, if you could buy it, then all of a sudden in all the poorer countries in the world, children become a commodity that anyone can exploit and profit off of. You would have American dollars coming out. You have, euros and British pounds coming out, cryptocurrency, and very safely setting up these studios in every country in the world. And the reason why we criminalize it, the reason why we arrest people and penalize people just for possession, is because we have to make it so unbelievably toxic to touch that it does not encourage the industrial level of exploitation that you would see in poorer countries if it was legal.
Yeah, and I think if anybody wants evidence of how this would play out, especially in a modern context, and maybe this was prophetic of the Supreme Court, or maybe it was prophetic of just everybody and how this has evolved, or maybe it was just, this is just the obvious outcome, is think of OnlyFans, right? Think of OnlyFans and the access that people now have to do this. Now picture the potential from something like OnlyFans or Chatterbait or whatever, if you have a child who's unable to escape someone who's a degenerate and has access to a camera and the internet, and it's not explicitly and extremely illegal to produce this stuff. Back in the distribution, the creation and distribution of exploitative child content in the past was difficult, just like everything was. There was a lot of gatekeeping involved in distribution anyway, and logistically it was expensive to send these giant VHS tapes to people, and you have to do it through the mail, which is tracked. If it's not punished just overtly, and if children are allowed to be exploited on some level, the idea that even like a black market OnlyFans would pop up, and these children would be stuck in positions where they're unable to get away from a poor caregiver, a bad caregiver who's exploiting them for large amounts of money coming in very easily, it would be a rampant problem, and it really does need to be tamped down, maybe now more than ever, in my opinion. But that's where I fall on the issue, is seeing the ease of producing this type of content and sending it out now. It needs to be even more protected than ever. Children being protected, not the production of exploitative material. You know what I'm saying? But
no, and the U.S. does listen more than just with like filming and video. It also, we have unique laws about sex tourism, where if you commit any kind of crime like that outside of the U.S., we'll treat it as if it were committed in the U.S. And I think we even work with foreign governments to try and enable their law enforcement to like track down studios. So the U.S., for all its faults, does do a lot of good work in that department, and I'm sure it's a manifestation of their desire to influence other kinds of policies and stuff. But it does. It feels like we're going backwards, and we're doing it in the name of good things, I guess. But because it's definitely noticeable.
So I wanted your. I guess I want to get to the harder questions about this type of stuff. So should Cuties be banned? Like, should there be, technically, I have to assume, I obviously don't know, but I think it's a safe assumption to say that there's no actual nudity of children in Cuties, and that there's no sexual contact. I would hope and pray that that's still true. I can't imagine that there is. So at the end of the day, do we ban this stuff? And I think that's a harder question.
The issue with banning stuff is that it would be very difficult to enforce a ban. You know what I mean? But I guess you could just say Netflix, hey, don't run this, and it would reduce, the impact of it, or it would amplify it because people would seek it out. They would go to the Pirate Bay in great numbers and find this movie that was so so shocking that the U.S. government had to ban it. It seemed like the best sticker to put on a film, right?
Yeah, I used to look for stuff like that for the kung fu movies, right? Like there's this one famous kung fu movie called The Invincible Super Chan, and right on the box it said banned in 38 countries. And I saw that and I was like, oh, I gotta buy it. And of course, it's just like by today's standards, it's just ridiculous and tame. But yeah, it was an absolute selling point. And so if we ban it, does it just do people just start importing it from, you know, Senegal or whatever, where it's going to be a huge hit because the director is Senegalese or something like that? Like is that the issue? But I come down on it a little different in just I am really hesitant to ban just about any art. Right, I clearly, like CP, I draw the line, ban it, shoot everybody involved, all of that. But on this one, I'm like, I get that there might be artistic value. I just don't want them to make it, and I don't want Netflix to promote it, and I don't want people to buy it. You know what I mean?
Well, you're talking like a societal issue at that point. Like if people are financing this, but you know, I think the people financing it don't care if it's successful. I think that the people financing it finance anything that is going to degrade like the fabric of society. No, it doesn't matter if this didn't catch attention. They would accept it as it is. Let it sit and, you know, just keep doing that, keep propping up more crap like this for forever. I think that maybe the best hope would be to have like the FCC step in and refuse, because I know this is how it works in like Australia. They refuse classification for things that don't meet certain standards and just say like, look, you have, you know, shot ABCD here, which is just a gratuitous like close up of a little kid's crotch. Maybe cut that out and then you can sell it in the US. Maybe then Netflix can air it, and that would be more effective than a ban. But it doesn't excuse general plot points and stuff. It's just like I mean, it's difficult to legislate because it is sort of like an emotional response, you know, and not something that you can apply a binary litmus test to and say, okay, this doesn't meet the standard because of ABC, and if you change those to be this way instead, then we can allow it. It's more like a visceral disgust reaction that isn't even properly fixed by just removing certain shots.
Right, and that's we won't really know until, I guess, until it's, because it doesn't come out till September, I think, like September 9th. So there'll be no way to know whether or not the plot itself is repulsive or if it lives up to the director's comments. And if for example, the plot of the show is faithful to the director's comments, that it's actually exposing the horrors of exploitation through mimicry, then I think, you know, what you were talking about with basically an MPAA board coming in and saying, okay, you need to modify this scene, and this scene to remove the sexual aspects of it, then maybe it could actually function as a film if it's not utterly repulsive in every other way. And right now, we don't know. But the thing that gets me is, you know, I know people are like, oh, censoring certain shots might be bad or whatever, but they do that all the time. Like the MPAA, which is a non-government organization that they just are in control of the movie ratings, which control distribution, to get things down from NC-17 ratings to rated R ratings or whatever, they just go ahead and say, here's what you need to do. You need to remove this many beheadings. There was that one Twilight movie where in Twilight, to kill a vampire, you have to rip their head off, right? And so what they had to do was they had to remove any blood effects from the decapitations, and they had to quiet down the breaking
doesn't make
sound.
it any better, to be fair.
No, it doesn't.
The decapitation scene in Twilight, because that's even creepier. When he pulls his head off and he doesn't bleed, he just like his skin starts snapping. That's
right. And they had to quiet down the snap too. Or it was the one where that like everybody was getting their heads snapped off in the one big fight or whatever, and they had to quiet it down to get to that PG-13 rating, rather than being R. But I mean, my point in this though is they do this all the time. They actually take out tons of stuff to get ratings, and a lot of that stuff I actually disagree with, because like you said, that makes it creepier, and I just don't really care about a decapitation in general. It just doesn't. I mean, we make a big deal out of it, but there's all sorts of horrific violence that is worse than decapitation. But yeah, so yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know how you fix this stuff in the end. It's such a tightrope to walk on when we come to censorship. But that's why I fall down on the area of I just don't want them to do it, and I don't want people to enable it. It's like, isn't there some other movie that could have gotten Netflix millions of dollars to make instead?
Well, don't ever assume that these things are for profit reasons. That's the big mistake. People like to assume that these companies and movie production companies and tech companies, they all are trying to make a profit. And if they were trying to make a profit, things would be a lot different.
Right.
They're mostly artificial. They don't have bottom lines. The bottom line is just to pump the garbage out as much as they can. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what the fix is, because any kind of advocacy for censorship is like a harmful proposition. But at the same time, yeah, I don't know. Like, people said this got a horrible reaction. It's really going to hurt Netflix. The trailer had like a 50% positive reaction last I checked. Maybe it's changed now because everyone's seen it. But if this had flown under the radar, you know, a couple thousand, tens of thousands, 100,000 people might have seen it on Netflix, and most of them probably would have liked it. Some of them might have really liked it, and the world would keep spinning, and they would just make another one in a couple months.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
This time with 9-year-olds trying to join their local pole dancing for athletics group, because that's coming.
It's called Free Spirited Vertical Movement, Nick.
Yeah, Free Spirited Vertical Movement. Yes. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, but so censorship, obviously, it should draw the censorship concept should draw a visceral reaction to us, especially in America, right? Like we should be on guard against it, but we shouldn't. That doesn't mean we shouldn't ever engage in it. There are limits. Like, we have to have some things where we just say, okay, yeah, we don't want to have censorship on most things, but this one, it's okay. We can stop this. I'm just not sure, and I don't know how to be sure about this one until it happens. And I don't trust the people who are in that decision-making position. That's the other problem. I think they're all in cahoots. Or not cahoots. They're all just of like mind. I don't want it to sound like a conspiracy when it's just literally they all.
Someone said that I was being defeatist.
Are you?
Oh yeah.
Are you defeatist?
I mean, yeah, kind of, because I don't think that there's a government fix. If you really want to stop this, you have to really start alienating people who tolerate this kind of stuff. You really, and people say vote with your wallet. There is no profit motive here. You know, this got funded by whatever bullshit agencies, and they'll fund another one. And if it makes money, it really doesn't matter. They just want to put it in front of people's eyes, I feel. I just think that people have to be extremely loud about their dissent and saying that this is not okay. And it doesn't matter if it's if there's like an artistic message here, if there's a story here, she's telling a genuine story. If she is telling a genuine story, she should have done a better job. She shouldn't have had the cameras, you know, because as the director, she's the one saying, okay, B camera, zoom in on, okay, you girl, do the splits, B camera, you zoom in right on her crotch. We're going to put this one in the trailer, so we're going to do a couple takes. Like, that's her. And I don't give a shit what her fucking story is. She's gross and fuck her, basically.
Yeah. Well, and I think the Netflix model is also at play here because it's an evolution of the cable network model. So Netflix, like you said, it's not a profit motive. I mean, when they made the film, there might be some starry-eyed idiot on the cast who's like, "Oh, we're gonna make a movie and it's gonna make millions of dollars and it'll be great." But the way Netflix processes its success is on new subscribers. So Netflix doesn't have to care about the content that it puts out. It just has to put out content, and specifically new content that it thinks is enough of a risk to drive new subscribers, because people are brand sticky. So they're not gonna throw away their Netflix account. Like, that's not gonna happen because of one thing.
If they have their subscription still, like I canceled mine during 2016 because I had heard that all the people that were staffers on Obama during the Obama era had moved over and become executives at Netflix, and I saw what they were putting out. I'm just like, I'm not supporting this anymore.
Right.
But it obviously didn't help. In fact, it probably I don't know, maybe it hurt, because now the people left at Netflix are the people who are okay with that, and they're just going to continue to veer left and continue to mass finance films like this forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and my point in all this is that, like you said, it's not about a profit motive, because the individual film's success or failure is irrelevant. It's actually, they don't even care how many of their existing subscribers watch a particular show. What they care about is they have a list of things that came out, and they have a window of time, and they can use analytics to kind of track what shows are attracting people in or not. But really, they've got a bulk number of things coming out at any given time, and then they can through data try and determine it. But unless they see a specific thing linked to a specific negative impact, and they're not going to, on balance, do that, they just need to put out content that might bring in anybody, and they batch it and bundle it. It's almost like a credit default swap in a mortgage industry. It's like, look, we have good ones, we have bad ones. Well, they're all lumped together, and the performance metrics come out ahead for Netflix every single time. So why would we change?
The alternative theory is that the movie was made for literally no one. It's like the producers said, okay, we want to have more, we want to exploit more kids. Like backstage, we're going to groom these kids. We need to get access to kids. We'll make some bullshit feel good story about, coming of age. We'll cast a bunch of kids. We'll get to know them over the year of production, and then we'll just throw this shit movie out into Netflix. Nobody will watch it. Who cares? And next year we'll make another one, and we'll just keep doing that. And that's their shtick, right? And the movie itself is just like the waste byproduct that no one is actually supposed to be around or see. That's an alternative theory.
Yeah. So it's the economics of access theory. Like we want, we've got some
it's just expensive,
who wants access to children. That type of thing is
you have a Weinstein back there, and that's their
well,
it's like a Weinstein thing, and then the whole point of the movie is just to have access to kids.
Well, that's the superstar soccer player theory as well. I was listening to a sports economist talk about how, like, the Lionel Messis, the Cristiano Ronaldos, on balance, aren't really they're not effective investments for soccer teams, because individual players don't have huge impact. And so these billion-dollar franchises will hire a sports economist to tell them how to best spend their billions of dollars, making, hiring the right team to do well and keep the franchise going. And so they keep telling them, don't spend all your money on like a superstar. Instead, just get a bunch of above average guys, and your team will do better than the team with one superstar and a bunch of weak players in the back line or whatever. But the thing that the superstars bring in that goes outside of that economic equation is young men and women who like the superstars that will be around the billionaire owners. So they're buying access to sexual gratification tangentially by bringing in these young, attractive superstars is the idea. So it's like the similar sort of proposal. I think with and I think
Yeah.
we see that a lot, right? Corey Haim or Corey Feldman, whichever one isn't dead, when he came out and was talking about the troubles with Hollywood and being like a child actor and just getting passed around. And then of course he was discredited later because that was very dangerous speak. But that was the whole idea. Like they're making these movies with kid actors for the purposes of having access to the kids.
Don't be surprised if, like, in 2022 or whatever, in 2 years down the line, 5 years, there's going to be like a meme, a macro image that's like the Cuties movie, and then the production team, and then the executive producers, and then there's going to be like 3 different mugshots for like sexual assault on a minor, like next to it, and it's going to be corroborating the two. Like I'm sure that's coming. I think. You know, it's either A or B or a combination of both. It's normalization, or it's just these people trying to get, you know, a new cast in, and they're taking advantage of maybe a well-intentioned woman who's like a new director. This is like her film debut. They put an executive producer in to make sure they get the shots they want that are exploitative, and you know, that's just the nature of the business. I don't know why anyone would ever want to be in movies. I don't know why anyone would ever want to be a part of Hollywood. It's just the worst shit. I hate LA, and I think everyone who goes to LA becomes retarded over time. And I
think you're right.
I have contempt for it.
It's a culture of avant-garde nouveau values. Or whatever it is. Like they always have to be a step apart from whatever is normalized to make the new normal is like their goal. And it's like the fashion industry in general, which isn't relegated to just LA, but you New York or whatever. But if you watch a fashion show and you look at it, you're like, nobody on earth would ever wear any of this. And they're walking around in $5,000 outfits that look like garbage. Go ahead.
I can kind of understand that, because it's like if you're like a designer, you're like, okay, let's we're gonna have our sensible line, and then just to get attention, we're gonna have the bubble wrap. You know,
right?
That's their like it's just intent, and that's fine. That's whatever. That's the elite being weirdos with their excessive wealth.
But what they're trying to do, though, is they're trying to push an envelope, and they're throwing hooks out to see what'll stick at the same time, right? So they're gonna make their normal clothes that end up at Target or whatever, but they'll have this stuff, and they'll hope some dress catches the eye of some Kardashian who can wear it on some red carpet, and then 5 years from now that designer gets picked up by a department store and is set for life, like a Vera Wang or whatever, right? And but part of that is this quest to influence the normalization. Now I think the fashion industry is relatively innocuous because they're just changing like the style of clothing or whatever, but I think LA has that, and New York to an extent have that mentality that we're going to push society, right? We're going to push society towards something. And the thing that LA pushes towards is terrifying to me. that's just in general. And I agree with you. Like, why, I don't know why anyone wants to be in movies now other than people who have been caught up in a decades old idea of what Hollywood is. Because now, you don't need to.
Okay, I have an interjection, if you don't mind.
Oh, of course.
Okay, kind of a different topic, but I'm going to forget this if I don't say something. You air kind of at the same time as the kill stream, right? Like an hour later.
I think I'm 2 hours after it. But yeah, similar.
After it started, Vito, who is one of the frequent guests of Dick's show.
Yeah,
was a guest on the Ralph Report, and he just bailed because apparently they're talking about Cuties, and their take is that it's a Jewish plot to normalize pedophilia. And when he heard that, because he lives in LA, he completely bailed. He changed his Twitter name to Jews Rule, and he's locked his Twitter account. And I find that very funny. So I wanted to get that out there.
Vito, no, what were you thinking? You can't, you have to be a certain brand of person to be on the kill stream and also exist in LA. You can't do it. Yeah. It's a Jewish plot. Can you name them? Can you name them, Null? The Jews behind this specific plot? Are they in your special Jewish
Oh,
codex?
Well, I will again say that the director, even though I don't know how this works, but she's French Senegalese, but she's from Israel.
Oh,
also.
she's from
She's
Israel?
a dual national of Israel.
I had no idea.
She's
about
either
that.
Jewish and has the right to return. I don't know how that works. She's like a tri-national. She's like ethnically Senegalese, but she's like a French Jewish person.
Oh, they're on it then. They know. They figured it out.
They know. Vito has to be careful though, because I listened to him talk a lot, and from what I understand, he actually has like a lot of Jewish friends. He's definitely in LA, and apparently people think he is Jewish just because he knows so much about it, but he has to be careful.
Rookie mistake. If you're going on the kill stream, you have to assume that at any point you're going to be talking about a Jewish conspiracy. Like, it's just going to happen. There's like a 95% chance. It's like the weatherman in the desert. No, it's not going to rain today. There's going to be a Jewish conspiracy against it. But oh, that's funny. I kind of feel bad for him, but I don't.
Yeah.
At the same time, I don't. Let me grift a little bit. Fred Rush MD says, Nick, you dummy. Start uploading this stuff in podcast form again. Josh, I love you. DM is dying on a stupid hill. Oh, Dick Masterson is dying on a stupid hill. I've seen that a lot.
I agree.
Okay, so I was going to ask you for just a brief comment on it. I know we don't really want to delve into it because Dick's not here, and that would be a little bit ridiculous.
That's. I want to point that from my own words. Please don't super chat about Dick and ask specific questions. I'll give this one, but like he's not here, and I just had that conversation, so I'm kind of burned on it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people saying that message too. And I think just on my own personal thing, I think I see what Dick's trying to do on this one. I don't know. We probably disagree a little bit. He and I do on it, and that's fine. I'm a little more skeptical of this show than he is, I think. But that being said, Fred Rush, as to the first part. Oh wait, what you want to add something to that?
I was just going to ask what was the question? I didn't get it.
Oh, he just said that Dick Masterson is dying on a stupid hill. There wasn't really a question.
I totally agree.
And yeah, I mean, I was just saying that I think I see what Dick is doing. I get the arguments he's making, and in fact, on some other subjects, I would probably be more in agreement with him, but on this one, I don't. And maybe it's because I'm a dad, and I have daughters. And I think about
if you are a father or intend to be a father at any point, like the topic has an entirely different connotation to it, because it's like, I don't know, he's saying like, it's not my kids, why should I care? And it's like, because people who are abused grow up to be abusers, and it's enabling this creates a cycle that's very hard to fix. Because like, for the sake of argument, if we assume that 100% of people who were sexual abuse survivors became pedophiles themselves as they grew up, what is the answer to that? Like, if you knew for a fact that this person sitting in the police station, giving a report, is going to grow up to be attracted to minors, like it's such a horrific thing. And I don't know how you can't react viscerally to it. Some people are saying like, "Oh, he's like a psychopath because he said he would push the button twice." Like,
that
really,
was the funniest thing I've heard in a while.
If you're not angry, I think you're not thinking about it correctly.
Well, I will say, I have daughters that are in the age of where they're starting to do like activities and stuff outside of the house. So I have two daughters.
Twerking?
No. But they do dance, right? Like one of them did ballet and the other one does tap, and they're kids, so there's very entry level stuff. But like, you go to these to like a dance recital, and they go, up the ages, and you have to sit there through all of these performances and thinking, oh Christ, this is all terrible, and I'm only here for like 2 minutes where my kid's on stage, and everything else I don't want to see. But you go through and you watch, and like, even some of when they do like it's funny because we're in the Midwest, the white bread of America, and it's like the hip hop dance group comes out and you're like, oh Jesus Christ. Like, why? Don't just do river dance, just admit who you are. But they come out and they do these little moves, and even some of their, it's like, okay, these outfits, and they're all covered, right? Because it's the Midwest and these are children. They're covered, you know, like basically neck to ankle. There's no midriff or anything like that. But even some of it, you're like, okay, that's a little bit too much. I don't want to go to a dance recital and watch this. And then you see what's happening in the Cuties trailer, and it's like kicked up. Just look at that picture, the outfits. It's like something you'd see on the sideline of a Lakers game, right? Like they're dressed like modern NBA cheerleaders or college cheerleaders. And it's like, no, that's not what an 11-year-old should be wearing. That's not how they should be moving. We just don't need to do this at all. And so when I see that, like, I think of my daughters at that age, and I'm like, nope. If this happened, actually, there was one part of the trailer where I was happy and I clapped, and that was when the mom slapped the little girl and told her that this was, you know, she shouldn't be doing this. I was like, oh, thank God, somebody gets it. I'm with based right-hand mom issuing the devastating slap. Like, stop immediately.
The traditional Islamic mother wearing the hijab. Like, yeah, get that, wrap her up in that hijab, mama. You gotta fix this.
Yep.
You gotta right this ship.
I'm with the Islam. No ankle. Ankle is degenerate.
We're very progressive. We're very tolerant here.
But I wanted to say to Freddie Rush, good news for you. My man Snaj has put together a thing to actually rip the audio directly from every show on YouTube and upload it into an RSS feed in podcast form. So as soon as I figure out how to get that implemented back into the Apple and Google podcasts, it will be back, and it will have it will be ripping and updating the shows as they air, and they'll go up as soon as pretty quickly after it's done processing on YouTube. So just so you know, that is coming. We've been working on it, and so I know a lot of people want the podcast thing back because they don't like wasting battery on video if they're just listening. Nova Zero says censorship is wrong and the classification board is wrong to be gatekeepers here, but my libertarian sense also says don't make it a legal requirement to be classified. But that too comes with issues. Word grifting man. Yeah. I mean, any censorship should be met with an immediate resistance. And that's where I think people get mixed up on what libertarianism is. At least for me, like, I would never vote for a libertarian candidate. I find them all to be ridiculous. And I don't think that there is a libertarian policy or platform that is effective. I think libertarianism should just be the perspective that we resist inherently any restriction and set our zero at zero, and then measure any restriction that we're willing to go towards from zero. So absolute freedom is here, and then any restriction we want to implement comes from there, not from something further down the line. And it's just a check on your immediate reactions, to me.
Well, someone in chat is saying they confuse libertine with libertarian, and I disagree with that assessment. I call myself a libertarian just because I want to kind of give the idea that I am anti-government by default. But really, it's more accurate to call me a liberal. The issue is that you can't call yourself a liberal, because when you say that, people think, oh, you know, so you're like super progressive. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
I think that people should be liberated from the government.
Right.
Libertarian has an additional connotation of being no regulation for private companies as well, which I don't agree with. I think that private companies can be immensely dangerous. The way that I see it is that in order to have a free society, it's like the scale to justice. On one scale, you you have government, which represents the will of the people, and then you have on the other side corporations, which represents the economy and the entrepreneurship of the people. And the people, the thing that should be holding up the scales is the people themselves, right?
Right.
And there needs to be a balance between the government to ensure that people are protected from the corporations and exploitation, and the corporations need to be doing everything efficiently and on a profit motive, as opposed to letting the government do it, because the government will be slow and shitty at it. So that's my perspective, and I think that libertarians lean too far on corporations are based in red pills and we can trust them, because a sufficiently large private corporation like MasterCard, Visa card is equally as dangerous as a government.
Yeah, and the traditional word for it is classic liberal, and Sargon tried to rebrand it as liberalist, and everybody made fun of that, because anything done on the internet is make funnable. That's a key aspect of liberalism. But yeah, the word liberal itself was co-opted, but so now you have to say classic liberal, and most people don't, or I shouldn't say most, but a lot of people don't know what that is. But so libertarian is kind of more rising up. But I agree with you. Corporations shouldn't have a blank slate, like, because some corporations do blatantly terrible things, and there always has to be a line. Like there has to be some line to, otherwise don't have a government at all. And that's fine if you're an anarchist, but that's not liberalism or libertarianism. I don't think isn't anarchism. Those are different things. The libertarianism recognizes that a government is part of the system, and then it just seeks to restrict the government to minimal interference. But yeah, I mean, some corporations, and specifically, like you said, MasterCard, Visa, Stripe, these
banking
companies,
is the one thing that should always be nationalized. Banking has no part of the private sector. I don't know why the Federal Reserve is owned by, I know why it's owned by, but it has no part being privatized at all. MasterCard, Visa card should not exist. It should be all SWIFT or whatever, and it should be a part of the federal government. The money has no business whatsoever being privately controlled.
Yeah, and if you are going to have private, because I don't know that I trust the government to handle banking either, because I just don't trust the government to handle anything. But if you are going to have it, it should almost be like a post office, like a government-private hybrid, where you can't deny access someone to the money system. Like that needs to be a part of the system, that everyone has a basic right.
Well, to answer your question, the government doing banking, I mean, our money is backed by the trust of the government already. That's the entire currency. It's all fiat. So naturally, even if you're using gold or whatever as your currency, you should the government should always control that, because if not, you have radical inflation. You have and remember that most people always think that China owns all of our debt. That's not true. All of our debt's owned by private entities. And those entities have recurring interest. Like if you think about the interest payments that we make, that the government makes, that's all going to the banks. And then those banks keep that profit. And the people who actually hold the currency become poorer all the time. So it is the privatization of the currency is one of the greatest missteps ever. And
it's an interesting concept, because the banking system is generated to create money. It's to grow the supply of money. And they do that through arbitrage, where they lend at 4% and they hold at a 2% payout. So they're making money on the deposit. And that in turn is, because they're lending out a future promise, they're actually growing the supply of money, which in turn necessarily inflates the amount of currency and then deflates the value of the currency. So it's an interesting proposition that the banking structure is inherently tuned against its customer, because to successfully have a banking system, you decrease value. But Yeah, it's that's
There's a book if anyone's interested and you don't mind reading something that's a little bit a little bit red pilled for most people. It's called A History of Central Banking and the Enslavement of All Mankind by Stephen Goodson. And good luck finding this book, by the way. But if you're bored and interested in that, in my opinion on that, read that book. And I'll type it in chat. But
yeah, do so.
That's all I have to say about that.
Bad Vibe says, if the movie industry has GLAD/LBGTQ watchdogs, why isn't there a child watchdog group in the industry? Because they don't want one, is the short answer. I think. I don't know if you have a different opinion, but I think that's just it. They just don't want it.
Sorry, I was typing in chat.
Oh, yeah.
if you're expecting my hot take.
I was. Did you want me to repeat what the question was?
Reread it. Yeah, please.
It says, if the movie industry has a GLAD/LGBTQ watchdogs, why isn't there a child watchdog group in the industry? And my answer is just because they don't want it.
Oh yeah, there should be, maybe. I mean, if you're gonna go the regulatory route, you should set up a branch that specifically looks at, does this movie have a theme that would push an idea that children are sexually matured and that adults should be interested in them, something like that. If you want to go that route, setting up a board, part of the MPAA, that just looks at that. But I mean, I don't think they will. And if they did, they would say, oh, well, this movie has a good message, so we're going to allow it.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know how else to say it. You got it. I said it the same. They just don't want one. If they want one, they'll make one. But why would they? At some level, they want access to these children for nefarious purposes or otherwise, even just to groom their the next presumptive star or whatever. That's been actually really interesting as I do these watch parties on Twitch, is watching old movies and then seeing these younger actors pop up later in very big roles. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, well, they were all fingered and passed around. That's gross. Kenny Jones says, have you two seen the movie called Milk Money? That wasn't much better in my opinion. P.S. Hi, Josh. Hi. I remember the movie. I didn't watch it, but I don't think they sexualized children in Milk Money. They were sexualizing the woman in that movie.
I've never seen that. I've never even heard of it.
Who was in that? It was like a woman teaching sex ed, I think. I just remember like a scene from the trailer. Who we got? Kathleen Kennedy. Melanie Griffith and Ed Harris are in the movie. I don't know. I never watched it, so I didn't think they were sexualizing children, but maybe. Hey, I think we should be back live. So sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it looks like it.
That has.
I mentioned the book. They pressed the remote BSOD button on you. They had to shut it down.
That
had
has
to end
honestly,
this live stream.
It has never happened on this computer. I have never had this computer blue screen. That was
until just now, until right after I started talking. This is what happens to you for associating with me.
Yeah. Well, thanks. We're almost up to 1488 viewers, so they can blue screen it again. As everybody comes back in. Oh my God. What a disaster. Thank you, YouTube, for at least allowing us to come back. Susan, I apologize for anything we said that might have offended you. We do, of course, love the Free State of Israel and and hope that the banking system remains private forever. The government should never own the banks.
That's right, Nick.
How dare you? I denounce this man. I denounce him forever. The banking system is private, and they are all good boys.
You love Cuties too,
Yeah.
right? That was your favorite movie of the year,
Listen,
Cuties?
I'm not going that far. There's a level of prostitution I will engage in, and that is beyond the pale, sir. That is beyond the pale.
Well, that'll buy you at least 5 to 10 years then.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. So, return the Disney suitcase, Ethan. What are... never mind. I have no idea what that is. Okay. But do you know what the... do I want to know what the Disney suitcase is?
No. The only thing I can think of is that Coach Red Pill said that he had an Andy Worski and Ralph sex tape, and it might be something related to that. That's the only thing I can think of.
You didn't know which boots were knocking in Knoxville until now. Coach Red Pill's documentary finally comes out 1.5 years later.
Is it in 8K like you promised? I would watch that. That'd be a better sex tape than the one we got.
Could you? Who would be the top? I don't even know. God, it'd be terrifying.
Oh, definitely Andy. Just physically, he would have to be on top.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I hope if Coach has it, he's got to release it. That would be great. Nothing could be more 2020 than that, I think. Is a sex tape between Andy Worski and Ethan Ralph from 2019. Unfortunately,
filmed by Coach Red Pill in 8K.
Why did he record it? Why didn't he get like a fire extinguisher and shut that down immediately? That's my question. Like we have to ask
because he's a businessman. He's a businessman first, friend second.
We have to go behind the headline here and really explore the depths of degeneracy that would be required to sit there and film that. Like that's like you mentioned the Vietnam photographer. You're on the front lines of Vietnam and the napalm is pouring out of planes that are flying right towards you and you're like, "No, I've got to get this shot. I've got to get this shot." I don't believe it. I don't believe it. But if it happens, oh man, that would be not good. Okay. Anyway, back to grifting, and then maybe we can put this topic to sleep as it deserves, and move on to Russell Greer, who's one of my favorite people on the planet. Did you see he tried to paint a mural of Justine Demond in Salt Lake City?
No.
Okay, so Salt Lake City.
I'll scan through and see if I can find it.
Yeah, I mean it's he deleted it, but it's on the farms. It was on his Facebook page. They snagged it before he deleted it. But basically, Salt Lake City painted a Black Lives Matter mural outside the courthouse or city hall or something. And so then he applied for a permit to paint a Justine Demond mural, and he said it was because that he identifies with her because he's afraid to be killed by the police if he asks for help from them because he's disabled. They already discriminate against him. So, and I agree. I think Russell is great. And
well, did they approve it?
No, they denied his permit. Turns out the city
those bigots.
The city of Salt Lake does not actually have a private permit program. So this maybe shouldn't be a thing, but it is a thing. The mural that they painted for Black Lives Matter is the government speech of Salt Lake City.
What?
And so they have...
Man, I'm so tired of Black Lives Matter. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of seeing on every website. I'm so tired of seeing like advertisements for it. I'm so tired of people talking about it. It's because it's not a movement. It's not like an NGO. Like it's nothing but a private corporation, a brand, and a political organization. It has nothing to do with like bettering the lives of Black people or stopping police violence or whatever. It has nothing to do with that. And everyone for some reason cares about it. And all I can think of when I see people putting Black Lives Matter on their shit is like Passover. Here are the Hebrews smearing the thresholds of their houses with lamb's blood so that they get passed over by the spirit coming to claim, the firstborn sons of their companies. It's like, it's obnoxious, and it makes me, I don't know, it alienates me aggressively when I see that, because it's just like, this group does not represent me. This group is a scam. The fact you fall for this scam makes me not trust you and your intentions. And I'm supposed to act like this is like the second coming of Martin Luther King Jr. If you're not on the side of Black Lives Matter, then you're inherently on the wrong side of history. It's like, fuck off. These people are scam artists.
Oh yeah, they're terrible. And I think it's ridiculous that Salt Lake City is doing this and the way they're doing it, but the way they're doing it doesn't implicate the First Amendment under existing law, which is kind of dumb. It's a weird way where I agree with Russell, but he's wrong. It should be the way he wants it to be, where he should be able to paint a mural, but since they don't allow private people to paint murals, he's actually
here's what he could do. I would encourage him to do this, because I think he would have a good free speech case. He needs to go and paint his mural on top of the Black Lives Matter mural, and then just say that for political reasons, he's expressing his free speech. If this mural can go up and support a political group, then he can paint over it as it is public speech, right?
I think is a better case. And I definitely think he should do that.
Yeah, he should do it.
I don't think that could go
I'm
wrong.
gonna send Russell.
Send him an email.
Well, if it's a crime and I send him the paint cans, if I send him spray paint and he does it, am I culpable for telling him to do it and giving him the spray cans?
Well, I think you have to avoid telling him to do it. And you just have to say, look, I'm going to donate the spray paint cans to your cause. And then, should you choose to do it, you will have the materials. But I believe that you are a budding artist who can express your love. Your dedication to the life of Justine Demond. I think it's maybe that he did it because she can't turn him down, right? Like, she can't reject him because she's dead. Do you think that has anything to do with it?
That's bad. I guess, because he can simp for her or whatever all he wants, and she can't say like, oh, sorry, you're like a creepy weirdo, I don't want anything to do with you.
Right.
So he can still like stalk a woman and act like a good guy because she's dead and she doesn't have any say in it.
Yeah, he can go to her gravestone every day and just hang out and drool on it or whatever. That would be great and horrifying. But anyway, no. So yeah, it's weird because the government has the ability to select the art that it adorns government property with, and as long as it, wants to do that, it becomes then a political question where basically if you don't like it, unelect them. But yeah, Black Lives Matter as a group is, whatever semblance of a group it is terrifying. And I don't understand why every company, every one of them, I guess they just calculated that it's easier to say we support Black Lives Matter than anything else. But all of them, like every company over 30 employees or something, is pretty much just on the hook for it. I don't get it.
Looks like extortion.
Sakaki Onsai says, isn't the landmark case with relation to all of this Miller v. California? Do we remember the famous case where Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart said, I'll know obscenity when I see it? Sounds like that might be a problem today. Yeah, in a sense it is, but the line gets ridiculed, but the idea behind it is not actually that unique in law. It's the same in copyright, where basically the facts of artistic expression are unique to every singular piece of purported art. And so what he's saying is, we'll know it when we see it. It's almost like a nod to the fact that they would have to analyze every single piece individually to determine its artistic value. In the same way that copyright infringement, you have fact-specific questions that need to be addressed that are going to be different with every single alleged copyright infringement. There aren't two copyright infringement cases that are identical, because you have different amounts of different works being taken and different factors going into each of those works. So I think that's more about what it is. I don't know that they could create an individualized standard. Do you have any idea how they might do that?
Create a stand. I mean, no. And the thing is like, okay, let's say that we get our wish. Let's say that there was a perfect instrument in place which could adequately weed out films or help films become such that they don't promote child abuse.
Right.
The issue then becomes, because of how the world works, what happens to films that don't pass but get an airing in other countries? What happens to films that don't say that they're films? Like, let's say that Cuties just rebrands as a documentary or as like a student film or something, and they say, we're not actually going to put this in theater, so you can't give us an MPAA rating. We're just putting this on Netflix.
Right.
You know, shit like that, where there become so many different caveats just because we're in the information era, where how do you actually manage this? And I think, I don't know, it's going to become something that people have to deal with on their own. If they say, we don't want to look at stuff like this, we're going to, I think people are going to start congregating into communities where people are more like-minded. You know, they're going to have exoduses from states where things like this are more tolerated into places where it's less tolerated, and people are just going to shuffle around in the country based on ideology to try and isolate themselves from, you know, an internet that they can't really moderate anymore. It's not everything is based on what the U.S. wants at this point in time.
Right. Yeah. That's part of the issue as well, is, you know, for whatever it means to be a superpower now is inherently reduced by the everyman's access to the internet, right? Like, before, some random guy in Liberia could never get his message across, but now, if that guy has access to Twitter, in theory, there's a possibility that his message could be heard globally. And that just changes the entire thing. And that scales up as well to, you know, the US doesn't get to dominate information distribution. We have all of these other countries now, which can create content or have their own, you know, like, imagine if they weaponized Bollywood or something like that. How would you stop it?
Well, I'm thinking like this too. Like, okay, let's say that we had some sort of scientific way to analyze a film to determine if it was harmful to society, right? We have, for the sake of argument, we have this objective means of determining if something is obscene. I think because of how things are, I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a Chinese startup company or a Russian company that was, the sole purpose was to put out free movies just so that they could seed in things that the US had banned, that had failed the subjective obscenity test, that people in China and Russia could not access, but that Europeans and Americans could access. And the whole point would be to damage the fabric of our society by pushing this out, and there wouldn't be any real way for the government to deal with it, and it would become taboo and underground if they just banned the websites or whatever, but it would still be up and it would still be out there. Which is why I when I get Debbie Downer about things, I start thinking about how I see it as inevitable that the big I internet that we use right now will split apart into multiple little I internets based on region. So we'll have a European internet and a Russian internet, and we already have a Chinese internet that the Chinese can't access outside of, and that Americans can't access inside of. And we'll see that in regional international organizations and then the US, and we'll just start splitting apart. And it'll, because I don't see how else the internet can, how things can progress otherwise, because we have multiple countries trying to compete for superpower again, and the fact that the US and Europe handles almost all the information in the world is unacceptable to a country like China.
Right, and so we already see this microcosm breaking down, or these microcosms forming in places like China, in places that want to have a different level of control and influence. And we see it we actually see echoes of it in the United States with the banning of TikTok and other apps like that, where these are things we don't want on our internets, right? Like that's a similar sort of question, and we're engaging in it. Whereas a couple years ago, that was almost kind of a foreign idea that we would determine an app was so inherently dangerous to American security that it should be removed based on the country that it originated in. And I'm not saying one way or another. I think TikTok is degeneracy, and I think it's the exact same problem that Cuties is, except it's just democratized, which makes it maybe even more terrifying. But it's just a sea change in how we deal with these sort of things. So it's very, very weird.
I really do think that the environment that we grew up in like the 2000s, well, I mean, you're a little bit older than I am, but when I was coming of age in the 2000s, and 4chan was just like the Wild West, and what it was is that the government hadn't really caught up to the internet. The internet was miles ahead of the government. The policing agencies were completely incompetent in terms of dealing with stuff that was online. It was just way too fast and way all over the place, and we had thousands and thousands of sites. I think there was over 1,000 sites that made up the top 50% of internet traffic, and now it's like 4 websites make up 50% of all internet traffic. So there really the internet is much smaller than it used to be. It's much more centrally organized than it used to be. The government knows how to police it, and we're going to see the rise of artificial intelligence, machine learning that can police it automatically. And then we're going to start seeing government and international organization interests wanting to bubble the internet into things that they can more acutely control. And we've already seen that, like specifically with the EU trying to add in like copyright mechanisms and stuff. So it's not even about like political agenda. The first cracks will probably be due to private interests trying to stop copyright infringement, and that'll be the rallying cry, which all censorship and balkanization happens under. So, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but I don't see how it could progress any other way at this point.
Would you say that 13% of websites make up 50% of internet traffic?
Oh, that would be extremely generous, but I would prefer that, actually. I would prefer a world where that's true.
Okay, so you are pro 1350. I got it. Nova Zero says Liberal
Yes.
Party in Australia can't call themselves the Liberal Party anymore. They're the Liberal Coalition. They have liberal conservatives, liberal Democrats, liberal libertarians, etc. Could we call our parties by agendas, like ass titties? The most noble of agendas is ass titties.
What would the American parties rename to? It would be like the same shit. Like both would be called that. You'd go to the ballot and you'd have same shit and same shit, just right next to each other. No difference. And one would be red, one would be blue, and that would be it.
One would be grabs by the pussy, and the other one would be sniffs by the hair. I think, right? Like that would be this election.
No, that's awful.
Legion of the Damned says, this woe is me dance that pedos/maps do kills me. It's a natural reaction to think child equals sexy is fucking gross. I was molested and victim shamed by, quote, family. Either seek immediate help or keck yourself. Burn the heretic, please. Yeah, I think that's I kind of went off on a rant on this last night where I was saying, to the people who are quote unquote maps, remove yourself from society. Like I would prefer you not kill yourself, but get help. And if you can't get help, then keep trying to get help, but also move to the mountains and go away. Like get yourself away from endangering anybody.
So someone on the forum asked me to ask you what your opinion was of the take that a true Christian would forgive a pedophile, and that the most Christian thing you can do is live amongst them, like Jesus did with the prophets, the 12 disciples.
Yeah, no, not at all. I would disagree with that. I say, yeah, go ahead, and I forgive lots of people. If someone, I could give you examples. I've lent over the years several $1,000s to a couple different family members for example, in-laws and stuff like that, siblings or whatever, who have been in a real bind when I am in a time of plenty. And it's like, okay, well, I could really help someone out, or I could buy another fun thing. So I will choose to lend them money. Well, then they will, of course, never pay you back, right? Like when you lend money to a family member, you have to just go ahead and say you're probably never going to lend them any money ever again. But that doesn't mean that I hold the grudge over them for not paying me back. I can forgive them for that. I can forgive them for, not paying me back and buying a TV instead or something, because that actually happened one time too. And it's like, I was mad about it at the time, but I forgive them. I would also never lend them money again. So if there's an offending pedophile who is, no longer offending and is generally repentant and tries to do something to make amends for his offense, I'll forgive him. I would also never let him watch my children or anyone else's ever. And if I had any power, I would remove him from the ability to be around children. You know what I mean? I hope that answers the question.
And no, it was just a point that someone brought up
Yeah.
that people found offensive, because it is that meme where it's like, sure, I'm not religious and I have nothing but contempt for your backward desert nomad faith and mythology, and I think the Bible is complete bullshit. But if I say that Jesus would have done something that I agree with, then you'll have to agree.
Yeah,
and,
well,
I don't know.
My thing, Jesus also sold or didn't own any possessions, and he walked around living off of other people, and that runs completely antithetical to my personal ethos. And if Jesus is right, but see, the great thing about that, like, I'm not going to.
This is why you're top grifter, Nick.
Well, think about it, right? Like, he tells the apostles, he sends them out. He's like, yeah, just go in this town and walk to this house and say the master sent you, and they'll give you a bunch of food and a donkey, and just bring it back here. That'll be fine. And it's like, wait, so you're just literally a charity case. Okay. But that's fine. If I'm wrong and Jesus is right, the best part is he has to forgive me for that because he said so. Right? Right? Like that's the whole thing. I don't think we're supposed to perfectly emulate Jesus. I think we're just supposed to, give it a grade A try. And there are some things that I'll fail at over and over again. So I'm okay with that. I'm resigned to it. I'm also probably a terrible Christian in a lot of ways, and that's okay too.
Someone said that you're 6 months away from your own scandal, just based off how things are going. But I disagree. Have you ever been to LA, Nick?
Not yet. I've never been there.
Well,
wait,
I
no,
mean,
that's not true. I've flown into LA. I think I went to.
I've been through LAX too.
Yeah, I've been through LAX, but I actually did go to LA as a kid, briefly.
Oh no.
I have some relatives who are in California. My uncle worked for Apple forever, and so did my aunt. They both worked for Apple, and so when I was a kid, probably, God, maybe 11 years old or something, we went to various places in California. We went to Disneyland. We went to, we went down to San Diego to the zoo and stuff. So that's about it, though. Other than that, I've barely been to California at all. I went to San Francisco once, more recently. That was kind of fun. I didn't step on any heroin needles.
For scandal is the Vic stuff is coming up in September. That's going to be fun.
Oh, I don't know what the scandal would be. If it comes back,
if he loses his appeal, people are going to go apeshit.
If he loses his appeal, he's in the same position that he's kind of in right now. I mean, I guess I ate shit hard on his loss, even though I said from the beginning he has a very uphill battle and it could lose right at the onset from TCPA. But I was hopeful that he would do. I was hopeful that he would do better. If it comes back on appeals, I will probably do a live stream where I laugh for 3 straight hours, just scrolling through Twitter, watching a meltdown. But that's.
Are you gonna wear the shirt?
Which one?
The shirt. You know the one. The only one that I'm fixated on.
I don't know what shirt that is.
Damn it, Nick! We lost the case again. My favorite shirt of all time.
Yes, I have to get one. I don't actually own one of those.
Okay.
I'll get one though.
Okay.
Just in case.
If he wins his appeal, you have to buy one and wear it.
Well, if he loses his appeal, I think I have to also, right? Because then
oh no,
we actually did. But no, I don't know that would be a scandal. I think a scandal would come out if there was some improper thing that I did. I don't think so. But
no, I've been on your side on this because I think from the start I remember you saying it's about a 50-50 chance if it even gets through, like TCPA, if the appeal even goes through. So
yeah,
I don't think you've been dishonest with people, but that doesn't matter. People are gonna regardless of what happens, it's gonna be a shit show.
Yeah, it'll be great either way. Nothing but entertainment. So we'll see. Other than that, I can't wait to see what my scandal is. Everybody on the internet's got something. The best is when you don't remember you did it. Like when my blackface picture came out, I didn't remember that picture existed. Like I literally...
Why would you put that on the internet? What is wrong with you?
Because when I put it on the internet, it was, MySpace existed. And that's where I put it. I had like 8 friends on MySpace and they were all at that party. So I just had that picture up and I never thought it would be a thing ever. It was just completely, it was like, haha, look at this dumb thing. I actually censored out part of that picture. Can you believe it? I took out the offensive part of that costume.
Oh no.
I was wearing a sign because again, I was dressed up as Drexel, right? And he was there and he had no idea when he showed up that I would be wearing this stupid costume. But I was also wearing a sign and wearing his clothes that said world's gayest cheerleader. That was and so I didn't have the sign on for the picture because it was like, oh, I guess that's offensive. People will take offense to that. It didn't even occur to me that the rest of it...
I thought you were gonna say it was like the N-word or something.
No. See, there was the joke is everybody's seen Drexel. He's like, at the time he was probably 90 pounds heavier than me of raw muscle. So the joke is, here I am, this scrawny white kid, because coming out of college, I weighed like 160 pounds and I'm 6'2". So I was really, really thin and lean. And he's this big, muscly monster. And so that was the joke. Like, I looked like this little shrimpy white boy dressed up as him. That was the funny bit of it. So then making the cheerleader aspect full cheerleader and super gay was the other part of it. It was like, well, we wouldn't want a picture of making fun of gay people. That would be ridiculous. So
different time.
Yeah, it really was. I think people forget how different of a time it was just 5 years ago, even 10 years ago, 15, and it gets more and more different the farther back you go. But yeah. There was never any malice in the costume. There was no bad faith or anything like that. It never even occurred to anybody at that party that would ever be a bad thing. Because there is a thing about doing blackface in a minstrel show or something like that would be particularly offensive, and there was never anything like that about it. So no one even thought about it. But c'est la vie. But yeah, I can't wait to see what scandal does come out. It'll be great. I hope everybody enjoys watching it. That's the key. Felipe says, in my opinion, the issue with banks, MasterCard, and Visa is the power they have accumulated in the last 30 years. Same with Google and Facebook. They don't care about the regular customers. That and the stupid woke millennials displacing boomers in positions of power. Look at Goodyear. What do you think about that?
Well, this kind of ties into the banking thing, is that because most of the money is held up by banks and by large private corporations and to an extent the government. Like I know Amazon makes, Here's how Amazon has destroyed every brick and mortar business in the country. Amazon makes most of its money through contracts with the government. There are data farms that are top security buildings that are owned by Amazon. The CIA, NSA, FBI lease out from Amazon.
Stream
and they
going
make
down in
inconceivable.
3, 2, 1. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no kidding. But they make inconceivable amounts of fucking money. They make so much money off AWS for government that they can afford to sell items on Amazon for 0%, like no markup whatsoever. They can afford to pay postage for free. They'll take a loss on a lot of items just to be so competitive that people will buy from Amazon over brick and mortar businesses. So a lot of the money, most of the money in the world comes from big companies doing business with big companies and with the government. So when people say vote with your wallet and your conscience, what you're really saying is withhold 5% of this, or 0% in the case of Amazon, withhold no money from Amazon and buy from a brick and mortar business, as if that's supposed to hurt them. It's not. The companies are selected and put into positions of power, and you have no say in this whatsoever.
Well, and the other thing that Amazon, where was I going with this? Damn it! I completely lost track of what I was going to say. Oh no, the other thing, Amazon capitalized on something very, very smart. And that was the stupidity of the United States government, in particular, its running of the post office. I have a buddy who's a congressman. He complains about last mile delivery for Amazon. Are you familiar with last mile delivery?
Yeah, that's the post office to the house, right? Are you talking like the drone delivery from Amazon?
Well, it's not even drone delivery. It's literally post office to the house. And so Amazon ships all over the place, but then they negotiated these brilliant contracts where for some reason, for basically no money, the post office delivers all Amazon, or will deliver any Amazon package the last mile. So like Amazon can ship by UPS and FedEx, and then UPS and FedEx will hand it off to the post office at a distribution center, and then the post office will deliver it to the house. And the post office negotiated this taking like a flat fee and not a per package fee. And so then Amazon scaled up deliveries massively, and especially during COVID. So the post office should be making a fortune if they were actually delivering things according to their normal business model. But Amazon, took advantage of the fact that people who run the post office had no foresight ever. they negotiated these contracts. And so there are congressmen who complain about it. And it's like, you guys run this stuff and you did this. Like your post office did this. But post office is the plenary authority of Congress. They can make all sorts of laws about it, and they just didn't.
Well, that's my favorite part of the Constitution, the bit where it says we can have a post office.
Yep.
If I ever became dictator of my own little tin pot country, that would be the first thing I'd work on, making sure the post works. You know,
well, people are really
I've lived
mad
in countries that are very poor, and let me tell you,
go ahead.
The post is a big deal. Just saying. I'm sure people are mad. They have a right to be. And someone mentioned in chat, if we can't defund these companies because they're funded by taxpayer money, maybe you can defund the government. But I mean, from what I've heard, if 1% of voluntary taxpayers decided to stop paying taxes, it would completely break the IRS's ability to collect taxes. I don't know if that's true. If that happens, that would actually be really funny.
What percentage did you say?
If 1% of voluntary taxpayers stop making contributions to the IRS, it would completely break their ability to collect taxes.
Yeah, it just depends on which taxpayers, but I mean, it doesn't take that much, especially because how concentrated the tax is, like the tax collection is, because once you get up, so much of the country doesn't pay anything, and the revenue from income tax is concentrated on these not the highest earners, right? Like the highest earners mitigate their tax payouts pretty dramatically.
Okay.
It's like
to the smart asses saying that nobody voluntarily pays taxes. Yeah, you do. Like, sure, you're forced to, but you sign the pay. They don't come after you. They don't audit you every year. They don't tell you how much to pay, right?
They don't synagogue your
going to
paycheck.
TurboTax and paying. Yeah, if you, I'm talking about people. If people stop doing like TurboTax and sitting, 1% of people doing that did that, it would, especially right now, from what I've heard from people who work with the government, Trump has done something with the IRS where they have like one tax collector for the entire state of Florida, and because he's massively funded it. I'm sure for very personal reasons. He hates the IRS.
Yeah, I would too. I think if I were him, I hate the IRS, and I don't have anywhere near the tax issues he would. But yeah, Glenn Beck a couple years back talked about it, where if you can get 10% of anyone to do anything, you wield a massive amount of power in any group of a respectable scale. And I think that's actually what we see with, we were talking earlier about the Black Lives Matter thing and why all of these companies do it. And I think it's just because they figure something like 10% of people agreeing with Black Lives Matter it's enough. It's a big enough and loud enough group that it's just easier for them to roll along with it. And you can affect massive change without a bunch of people. You don't need a 50% thing. You need 10% because the 10% will carry enough gravity with it. But yeah, anyway, I don't know. I hate the IRS. I hate the government taking my money. Defund it all. But I want everybody else to do it because I don't want to go to jail. Perception Check says Null starts dissing Black Lives Matter. Stream going down in 3, 2, 1. Christopher Murto, thank you for the donation. CECA Loather says, hello, Null. Huge fan here. What should Colonel J do to get unbanned, and why did Colonel J get banned? By the way, I go to the kill stream to talk about the Pajit problem. They will control your country like the Jews. Okay.
Colonel J is someone who
I know who he is a little bit.
I've had to ban him everywhere. All I know about him, because it's been a while since I've dealt with him, but he goes to every video. It doesn't matter if it's on my channel or an archive channel or on BitChute or wherever, and he just leaves a comment saying, "Nice show," every time. And I've tried banning his accounts, but he just makes more accounts, and all he says is "nice show" every time, and it's very weird. He's a very weird person, but he's immensely difficult to deal with. Very annoying.
I mean, that's cyber terrorism right there. Nice show. If you ever wanted to describe what it is, nice show is it. Yeah, Colonel J. He was in my oh god damn it! Everybody's typing nice show. He was in my
it's a nice show
in either my thread or the Weeb Wars live stream thread. I can't remember, and I think he got thrown out of there. But I don't remember why. But I don't know if I might have talked to him personally somewhere, maybe on Discord or something. I don't know. Fred Rush MD says Vermin is LGBTQ plus ally, right? Vermin? Vermin in the chat, maybe?
Supreme.
Maybe. I don't think they're talking about Vermin Supreme. I think there's someone in the chat named Vermin. But I don't know.
Oh, I think Vermin Supreme is, because he's libertarian. Of course he would be.
It's just We're back. YouTube is just kicking.
It was a nice show, though.
Yeah, YouTube it was probably all the people spamming nice show. YouTube's like, oh, it's over. It's fine. That was y'all's fault, chat. BTL Video Production says, keep in mind, putting that up completely undermines the citizens of Salt Lake City who cleaned it up after BLM rioters had vandalized the city and property of the people. So, yeah, vote them out. And that is the important thing. Vote them out. Orgasmic Whales says, call Freddy a homo. Freddy, apparently you're a homo, courtesy of Orgasmic Whales. Morty J says, practically every ad that comes up on Pandora for me nowadays is help show support for BLM by listening to our select black music stations. I'm so sick of this BS. Just
do that.
Oh, let me listen to my 80s and 90s.
Do that
rock.
on.
Yeah, go ahead.
They do it on Google Music too. If I go to like the front page of Google, it's like continuing the conversation, learn more about Black Lives Matter. It's like, no, I don't want to. And I click the X and I say, not interested. I'm not interested in this shit. And every time I open YouTube, it's right there saying, do you want to continue the conversation about Black Lives Matter? No, I never wanted to start this conversation. But they don't care about what I have to say.
How can I continue not having it? That's what I want to know. Yeah, same thing with Amazon Prime Video. I have one of those Fire Sticks, and you open it up, and it's like, see our black shows. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And I like black movies. I'm white, but I've watched at least 4 black movies. I don't ever want a category of watch black movies. Like, that's a weird thing to me. I similarly don't want watch Asian movies. Yeah. Unless if I want watch Asian movies, I just look up the martial arts section.
Like, I'll watch Key and Peele. I think all of his movies and stuff are interesting. But I would never like I don't seek out white movies. That's the thing. If I feel like anything that you can substitute white, like if you take black and substitute it with white, and it sounds racist, I don't understand why it's okay the other way around. Why you don't go to YouTube and seek out the white movie section because you want to see some white people shows? Like,
yeah,
it's so bizarre to me.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like Black Twitter, right? Like hashtag Black Twitter. If you did hashtag white Twitter, you'd probably be thrown off. That's the weird thing. It's the A/B test, I think, is what it's called. Where if you just switch the race of the thing you're saying and it sounds racist, then it is. Keck7 goes
and
go
personal. The capitalizing black in articles now, that's driving me crazy.
And not
I don't
white.
know why that drives me so crazy, but yeah, no, not white, because white is a color. Black is a formal group. Is a pronoun.
Do they capitalize yellow when they talk about yellow people?
That's racist. That's right. They're Asianic.
Yeah, so when they're talking about Jesus and they write him out as a black Asiatic Jew, do they only capitalize the black? That's what I want to know.
Yes, I think so.
Keck7 goes.
Oh, and Jew.
Keck7 goes. Yeah, they actually capitalize all 3 letters of Jew. Keck7 goes says, "Can you tell Wales to stop distracting Freddy from your stream? He wants to hear your and Null's bants, but instead he has to endure Wales's woes about Minnesota stealing his money in the form of taxes. Now they talk of furries." What are you talking? Where are they doing? Is this in the chat? I mean, that's ridiculous. Nix Hex says, just a polite reminder to Rekieta Law in the chat that Law Daddy said that if the case came back on appeals, he would do an entire stream in Lemoyne voice. Don't let him forget it. Oh, I've got so many streams. If it comes back on appeals, I probably will have a scandal because it'll be just too funny. Magnus Borson says, abolish the IRS and replace it with a flat sales tax. Everyone pays and saving is incentivized.
Never going to happen.
It won't happen, but I kind of agree with it. But okay. Did you have any final thoughts on the normalization of this child exploitation, or can we just never?
Just one thing I want to add, because people brought it up. There's one super chat I saw that's like, I don't think you read it because it's under 20, but it was like, what's Null's opinion on like child sex dolls and lolicon? And I don't think it should be illegal. My whole point was, you shouldn't want to know people into that. Like, okay, let's say that we knew for a fact that pedophiles who had a child sex doll had a 0% offending rate. It's a better inhibitor than chemical castration, which has like a 5% reoffending rate. Fine, let them have it. But I don't see why I would want to know them. I don't see why I would want anything to do with them. I don't see why I would want anything to do with anything to do with them. Yeah, no, I think that part of my job as a member of society is to make sure that I do not enable people into that in any way.
Someone said burn them alive with the doll. Problem solved. Yeah, I am similar, right? Like I'm very hesitant on banning just about anything. Very hesitant. And I don't want the government to come in and start regulating lolly. But at the same time, like, I don't want to be party to you masturbating to pictures of children. Like, I don't want to be around that. You know, I don't want anybody. I want you to stop yourself. That's what I want to happen. I want you to stop yourself. And if you do that, I think you should get help. But that's my personal opinion on it. But I don't want, you know, I don't want to ban anything for the most part, outside of very, very few and limited things. But, okay, so that topic, thankfully, we can put to bed because it's underage and has a bedtime. Next, we've got, did you want to talk about Russell Greer for a little bit before we wrap up the show?
Yeah, just to go over what I'm being told, he has been going after this named Erica Albino since 2017. Here's a mistake that all women seem to make. Oh, I don't know.
He loves,
if she
sex
is
workers. So I just wonder
if she is. That detail has been left outside of left out of the synopsis. But here's a thing for all women. If you get into contact with like a creepy weirdo, do not start being pity friends with them because they will want to kill you in the future, which is the case with Russell Greer. He started getting creepy with her and started harassing her and her boyfriend, who was named Chad. Apparently, I don't know if that's true, but that's funny. And she asked him in August last year to go away, and he did not go away, obviously. And he said that he would come over to their house and kill them.
No.
And that he kept getting burner numbers. And then he started demanding that they go to mediation together to work out their friendship. And he threatened to sue her if she did not. But she did refuse to go to mediation issues, which is why on June... Which is why on June 22nd, he was charged with 2 counts of electronic communication harassment in Orem City Justice Court.
Wow. Yeah. To let people know, there's an interesting thing with harassment charges. It's hard to harass someone on the internet in theory because of the way we communicate on Twitter and stuff like that. If someone's tweeting and tagging you and stuff, it's probably not harassment. For the most part, there have been some really limited holdings in a couple states, Minnesota included, where they have found adding someone excessively to be harassment, but generally speaking, they don't. But what is common in most of these sort of things is a request to stop. And once someone asks you to stop contacting them, you largely should, because that's where the harassment starts to get crazy. And if they block you and you start creating burner accounts or burner phones or whatever to circumvent the mechanisms that they have to get away from you, that's when you're really, really around the line. And just, you know what they say about women or thoughts or whatever. If you truly love them, let them go. And if they come back to you, then let them go again. I think that's what they say.
You remind me when you said when you tell them to stop right after talking about adding people on Twitter. You reminded me of this song by a rapper called JME called "Don't At Me," and I would highly suggest everyone go look up JME "Don't At Me." It's a great song, and I guess legally in Minnesota, sending that song to someone on Twitter is equivalent to a cease and desist. At that point, they have to stop adding you.
Yes,
otherwise it's harassment.
That's what it should be. Yep. The court should recognize the "don't at me" standard. Look, if they send you this song, that is sufficient notice under the law. That's great. Russell is fantastic. He has despite being slapped down over and over and over, he's like the Rudy of lawsuits, right? Like he just keeps getting back up and getting back on that line saying, "I can do it, coach." put me in. And I mean, I don't know what to do with him. I want him on the show.
I mean, I guess you've been asking him to get on and talk to you. I don't
know. I've never contacted him directly because I don't know. It feels weird, but I think he'd be a good guest.
Oh, you've never actually asked him?
No. I mean, I've said it on videos or whatever, and from what I hear about him, he's pretty obsessive about his name being mentioned. So if his name's in a video title, he might actually. There's a good chance that he's actually seen it. But I've never spoken with him directly. I would love to though. Am I right? Is Greg Skordas involved in that lawsuit or in his prosecution in any way? Do you know?
If he is, I do not see it. The presiding judge is apparently Reed Parkin. Skordas. Oh, yeah.
Is he the prosecuting attorney?
Yeah, I don't know. It just says there's a bunch of asterisks on this docket, and then it says Skordas Gregory G. That might be.
Do you know who he is at all?
He's the guy. Yeah, I do. He was the guy who he harassed and went after the daughter of Russell Greer after he defended Taylor Swift, right?
Yeah. In the first action Russell brought, which was just in small claims court, Skordas represented Taylor Swift, and then Russell Greer went after his daughter. He just hates him, I'm pretty sure. But God, that's so great.
Isn't it a conflict of interest for him to be the prosecuting attorney in that case?
I don't know if he's actually the prosecutor, because I think he's a private attorney, but some private attorneys do misdemeanor work, so it depends. Someone says he's just assisting, and maybe he's representing the victim, right? That might be. Maybe he's just outside counsel for the victim, not specifically for the prosecution, but representing her interests. So I don't know. But that's great. Greg Skordas is hilarious. Did you see that I did a stream a while back with Sriracha where a Kiwi, I believe, had actually gotten me the documents for Russell's high school arrest, that he's tried to retcon that arrest, where he wrote the kill list on the bathroom wall. Are you familiar with that incident?
Oh, yeah. I remember this.
Yeah, so Russell has a history of threatening to kill people and getting in trouble for it. So this is great. But that case was dismissed. He got out of it, even though he admitted to everything in the police interviews.
Well, he's a minor at the time,
right? He might have been 18 at the time. I can't remember.
Then he was just...
He's either 17 or 18. He was a senior in high school.
I guess they wanted to be nice to him, but they probably shouldn't have, in retrospect.
No, they really probably shouldn't have. I think they tried to do the thing where we're going to scare you with all these charges, and then, although I heard his foster family dumped a bunch of money to keep him out of trouble, but I think they now regret that. Because he's
I sent you on Signal, by the way. I sent you. It appears to be the header of the docket, and I don't know. Skordas' name is definitely on it. He's listed as an attorney. I'm not sure what his relationship is. It's not very obvious based on.
It's the victim. He's representing the victim. So that's that line of asterisks is the redacted name of the victim as a party, as a related party to the case. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
I wonder if he just watches to see if he gets in trouble, and then whenever that happens, he offers to do it pro bono. Hey, I see that you're in a legal case with this guy. I hate him. I would love to represent for free. and then just does it.
I actually exchanged emails with Scortus a while back, and he expressed that he would be potentially willing to come on the show and talk about it. So maybe when this thing clears up and he's no longer representing, he's no longer actively in litigation against this guy, I could convince him to come on the show and just talk about his history with Russell, because I get the impression from that email chain that he's not a fan.
Well, I think I told you this last time I talked about Greer. I know Scortus, there's a lot of stuff that happens on the forum, and my memory is very bad. So if I remember something, it has special resonance. I remember Scortus because, now that I think about it, Russell was threatening me at some point, and I was kind of annoyed because I figured he would sue the LLC, and I can't represent the LLC myself because it's a different entity.
Right.
So I was thinking, who could I get to do pro bono representation for an LLC, because I don't have any money. And I thought, let me email Scortus and tell him this and ask him if he would be willing to represent me or my company in Utah or wherever. And he emailed me back. I sent him a big, long email explaining the situation in pretty explicit terms. And I just asked, would you be willing to represent this company for free or for little money? And he said, it would be my pleasure.
Yeah.
Sent from Apple iPhone.
He hates him. Oh, it's so funny. Russell is 100% unlikable. That's why I want to hang out with him sometime. I also want to see how many Mexican gangsters try to firebomb me, because that's what happens to lawyers in his presence.
Is that a background story? Did one of his lawyers get firebombed?
Yeah, so in his book, How I Sued Taylor Swift, which is definitely a 100% true story, the lawyer who was his friend, who was advising him, he alleges that this is a true story. Like, I don't say that ironically. He says it's a true story. The lawyer friend, whose name is Ted in the book, I believe, who is advising him that he definitely should sue a multimillionaire in Utah court over his harebrained theory that he was owed attention from her and a date. He alleged that, a Mexican man in a black, I think it was a black BMW, drove up and firebombed the car of the attorney and sent him to the hospital with a Molotov cocktail. He did live through it, thank God. Thank God he made it. Or Ken,
surely
was
there's
it
police
Ken?
reports for this.
Ken is the lawyer. Ken, not Ted. Sorry. There's so much. But that's it was Ken. And thank God, again, he lived. The violent firebombing of Horatio. But yeah. Okay.
Just some more points with this case is he did hire an attorney, which I find weird, usually with people like Russell who do pro se all the time. I guess now that it's his ass on the line, he feels like he has to get competent representation.
Did he hire them, or were they appointed counsel? Because you could get a public.
That's true.
You could get a public defender, and some states have, in addition to public defenders, they have appointed counsels who will be like, if someone doesn't qualify for the public defender program, they can qualify for appointment, which is not a free representation, but a reduced rate representation. Like they do that in Minnesota.
I completely forgot that this is criminal, not civil, because usually when I'm thinking about like locales being retarded, I'm thinking civil frivolous bullshit in the courts, which, by the way, I'm being sued by the fucking the Mountain Jews again. It's how she said, yeah. I think I sent you the case.
Yeah, you said. I thought it was would have already been dismissed, but it's still going.
I don't know if it's been dismissed yet. But she said she would service me. She listed the right address. For some reason, I haven't gotten it yet. I don't know if she didn't like actually send it, or if she tried to. She usually services as a pauper, so she has the deputies do it.
Right.
But I don't know if like the judges said like don't even bother. Like I'm gonna dismiss this because it's the same guy again. It's the guy that has overseen every single one of her cases for the last 3 years.
She should sue in a different jurisdiction. Or something. She should.
Well, that would be venue shopping, Nick. Why are you encouraging venue shopping?
Just saying, man. She is pulling bad luck on this judge. He's never going to accept her theory, and he may actually, like, she's probably closer to a vexatious litigant than Russell at this point. Because is what six times she sued you now?
I think this is in total. In one of her, I was actually reading or judgments for one of the past things because I was afraid that I would actually get service this time, and I was practicing writing up a reply just to entertain myself in case it did come through. But I was reading through all the prior documentation, and he mentions kind of off the cuff in one of his judgments that she had 3 active lawsuits at the time. It was like one against the Wise County Social Services, one against her stalker, against me, and she has had like 10 different civil suits filed pro se in the last decade. She really is prolific. If she was like a novelist, she would be up there with like
like Stephen King or whatever, just cranking out work.
Yeah, like Stephen King, just on her typewriter, a manual typewriter, hacking these things out. I guess a manual typewriter would probably be an upgrade from the writing shit she does, because for some reason she doesn't seem to understand that when she files, she doesn't have to take the form like at the court and fill that in with hand. You can just like submit it directly with a proper heading. But she always opts to take the form headings from the courthouse and fill that in by hand and use that instead. Yeah. So yeah, it's really strange. And her cause of actions are intentional infliction of emotional distress, which basically does not exist after the Phelps case. Yeah, and really the other one is she is again alleging that I have infringed constitutional rights, and she has been corrected multiple times that a private party not acting as a state actor cannot infringe your constitutional rights. She has been told that over and over and over again, and she completely refuses to embody that I cannot infringe her constitutional rights. But I think she thinks that she can prove I'm a state actor because she thinks I am a Mason and I work with the government.
Based Freemason Josh, keeping the Mountain Jews down. Oh my God. Melinda Scott, that's the name. I've been trying to remember her name. Melinda Scott. Jesus Christ, what a lunatic. What would it take for you to actually push back against someone like that? Because like you get your share.
Service me correctly one time. I will come back. I'm not going to do it until I'm not going to throw away my right, my constitutionally protected right to have to actually be serviced correctly. It's not that hard. Just send it to the fucking PO box I have listed on my website, but she doesn't. But yeah, I mean, I'll if I have a feeling, because it's going to be the same judge again. If I just write, a nice 2-3 page reply that says this is what she's doing, you know who this chick is because you've dealt with her every year for the past 5 years. I would like her to be labeled a vexatious litigant, and I would like her to pay for my law books that I bought on Amazon, and that'll be a couple $100. If she loses a couple $100, that will be enough. She'll never try it again.
That might break her entire bank. Right, because she files in form of pauperis, so she clearly has. You have to qualify for it.
That's what pisses me off about this is that she takes this and she keeps saying, like, every time she gets it thrown out, she's like, "This was like a learning experience," and I'm a mother. I have 8 kids, and I've been teaching myself law. This is really impressive to even get this. I'm taking this as a learning experience, and like this ain't trial and error. You're not playing, at a casino here, and you're just rolling the, cranking the handle to a slot machine over and over again. Like the stakes here are absolutely nothing for you, and like $500,000 for me if you actually get what you're asking for her. Sure, the odds are extremely against you, but that's what's literally happening. And she treats it like, and it's very obnoxious that she doesn't even have to pay court fees because she files as a destitute person.
Yeah, no, and that's when the judge really should just deny her IFP petition. Nope, you don't get it. You're clearly abusing this at this point, and it's a waste, and you're a waste, and the judge should then order her to fall down the mountain. I don't know how else to say it. Some people need to be...
I think that all I need to do is just because I mean, okay, so pro se here, illuminate me on this. It's federal court, right?
Yeah.
If I file for attorney's fees pro se, can I ask that she pay my books that I bought? Because I did buy some books a couple of years ago directly because of her on how to deal with these things. Because I knew that would be cheaper than a lawyer.
I'd have to look into the question, but you might actually be able to recover more, because I don't know if you have to prove out what you've paid specifically, just that I got to figure out how this works in federal court. But you can file for reasonable attorney's fees, and you don't, and costs. I don't even know if you'd have to prove that you paid them, just that what you would have paid would be reasonable. But you can typically ask for, even if you represent yourself pro se, though, like let's say you're not entitled to attorney's fees, you could ask for an appropriate sanction from the court to deter the activity either way. And like, let's say, and again, I'd have to look into, I don't do federal practice, right? So I'm not sure of the exact standard, but even if you can't get attorney's fees, you may be able to request a sanction for the fact that you're having to do this on your own. And just because you didn't pay attorney's fees doesn't mean you didn't incur cost and you know, expense and waste of time and waste of stress and all of that stuff. Like you clearly are having to deal with this over and over and over again. So that could possibly be part of the remedy that you would be able to seek. And as long as it's reasonably tailored to deter her activity, it might actually be something that the court could do.
I would never ask for, like, because there's that recent ruling with Hughes v. Benjamin, the Sargon of Akkad case, which I'm enthralled about. I'm the biggest fan of Sargon on the planet right now because of how he has broadened fair use considerably through his case with Akilah Hughes. I'm actually a huge fan of Akilah Hughes now because it took someone being really stupid with a really obvious loss to set a standard that we all benefit from. So thank you to Akilah Hughes too. But she's now owing Sargon of Akkad $38,000 in attorney's fees because she lost so hard, which is kind of, I mean, it's kind of fucked up. That's a lot of money. I understand that because she had said on Twitter that she probably, and this is probably why she owes so much, is because she said on Twitter that she doesn't give a fuck if Sargon loses everything. I hope he and his children have to eat out of garbage cans. Like, she was awful to him. But yeah, I mean, that's she can't even bankrupt out of that money. She owes Benjamin Sargon of Akkad $38,000.
And
she either has to.
She's lucky. She's lucky that it's only 38 grand, in all honesty, because the amount that could have been spent on a copyright case like that involving the international service issues and all of that stuff, Sargon could have easily spent 60, 70 grand on that case rather than 38. His lawyer worked on the cheap, and the judge even acknowledged that was very reasonable. And he noted in his opinion that Akilah's lawyer doesn't challenge the amount of hours that were spent or the rate that the lawyer charged, because they were, like, to do so would have been ridiculous. So she doesn't even challenge that in the fee request. or in her opposition to the fee request, which is what you would do, is you challenge the reasonableness of the attorney's fees by saying they charged too much per hour, they spent too many hours, they duplicated a bunch of stuff, and she didn't, because it was, I mean, she was getting off cheap.
The lawyer must have told her to not push this, accept this amount of money. You're lucky you got this.
Yeah. I think so. I only hope that she fires that lawyer and appeals, because that would be that'd be top, tip top. But no, I think Sargon's case, you know, and actually I do want her to appeal. In a way, I kind of want her to appeal, just because I want Sargon's case to be authoritative case law at the appellate level, because I think the judge acted like it was old hat copyright stuff that why Sargon won, but it kind of wasn't, right? Like, he didn't add anything to the content at all. I mean, he cut it down, and I agree with the judge that it was fair use, but Akila's theory wasn't overtly incorrect. He didn't do anything to change the work other than to make it shorter, and to just take these portions of the work and put them out there. The only thing that transformed it into something different was literally the title and the fact that it was from him. And anyone watching his channel, as the judge basically said, anyone watching this
the
channel,
editing.
Yeah. Well, the editing was so minimal, though.
To reduce the time he edited. Well, the editing was not just for time. It was to directly oppose statements that she had made to make her look ridiculous. It was very transformative. It was so obviously transformative. That's what makes it really funny.
Yeah, and that was great. But it wasn't just the editing, though. It was the fact that, like the judge even said, is the fact that it was Sargon of Akkad, that it was Carl Benjamin, and anyone going to his channel would be a completely different market than Akila Obviously's channel. And so,
which is what I'm extremely thankful for.
Right. I bet
anyone tries to say that I'm doing copyright infringement by posting stuff on the forum, like that's the first thing I go to. Like it's on a this website is entirely distinct from whatever market they try to capture on their OnlyFans or whatever.
Yeah. Are you talking about what's her face? Still, what's her
talking
name?
About everyone.
iDubbbz is
Momocon. No, they all do it. Anyone with an OnlyFans fucking DMCAs me every goddamn day. I have DMCAs from Momocon. I have DMCAs from Nikocado Avocado. I have DMCAs from Anesia Jonah. And they don't go to me. They always go to search engines. So it's not even worth appealing because the search engines never give a fuck.
Right. They just take it down. They just deactivate the link, right?
Yeah.
On the search results.
Yeah. On the search index. I only bother if it's like completely fraudulent, like there's no images on that page at all, or if it's the first page of a thread, and then I try to find it. But otherwise, I get DMCAs about Momocon OnlyFans content every single day. It's extremely obnoxious.
Is Anissa still with iDubbbz? Is that still a thing? Do you
I think so, because he went on Ethan Klein's program or something recently to defend her. Yeah, they're still together in a relationship sense, not in a physical sense, because I think she still lives in Canada and he lives in LA.
Oh, they're a long distance relationship?
They always have been. That's what makes it extremely pathetic. Like, they're not even together. Like he said, all you fucking beta incels who are mad about her OnlyFans content, you're just jealous because that's what I have. It's like, no, you don't. Yeah,
he just jerks off to her picture on the internet like everybody else.
Oh, yeah, exactly. He just doesn't pay for it.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, neither does anybody else because it all gets leaked. Oh my God, I had no idea. Here I was thinking she's in the next room, taking vag pics or whatever, and he's over there like, yeah, I get to be in that later. But no, he's 1,000 miles away. That's so pathetic.
And it's left up to interpretation if he even if they talked about it before it happened, or if she just started doing it and he fell in line.
I can't imagine.
I don't know. Yeah,
if they talked
it's
about
sad,
it,
and I think
himself. Sorry, go ahead.
I think guys like him, because I think she was his first serious girlfriend, and he had her kind of like late in his life, later than most people. And it's like, I think guys need to be told that
There's
it's okay.
another one.
Yeah, I think that's something that, like, I don't know if he's like a bastard like I am, but you learn some lessons later in life if you don't have a father figure, and I think that might be his case.
But I mean, that's not even a real girl. Like, you guys in your long distance relationships, sometimes they can work, but it's completely different. Like,
you have to progress it from within like 3 to 6 months. If you can't do that, you're never gonna make it work. You have to meet, and you have to meet fast. Otherwise, it just becomes like a long distance friendship. It's not worth it.
Yeah, there's no investment in it. It's really easy to say whatever you want over Messenger, and to send a nude pic or whatever from time to time, especially if she's willing to send nude pics to literally anyone on the planet for $12. It's really easy.
Basically, everyone on the planet has as much an intimate connection with Anesia as iDubbbz does.
Yeah, he should just say, "Yeah, I'm not really cool with this," and break up with her. Like, what or move in with her and really be cool with it, and start up a real streaming site or whatever, and he can show off how much of a chat he is. I think that's what he should do to own the internet. That'd be good.
Okay, I have a Russell Greer related thing that you can maybe elucidate for people, because I don't know specifically the distinction. He pled initially no contest and has been put on terms with no contact with the woman, no new charges in a year, fees, and a $680 fine. So what is the distinction between no contest and not guilty?
So no contest plea, nolo contendere, an Outford plea, depending on the jurisdiction you're in, but they're all basically the same. They say, I do not admit to what I'm being accused of, but I concede that the government has sufficient evidence to convince a jury that I'm guilty. So you'll see a lot of no contest pleas, and it's so you can maintain your innocence, even though like I said, a jury would convict you, or probably convict you, but you say you didn't do it anyway. So that's what he has pled to. It's a guilty plea, just without admitting to the facts. And most judges will take those on a lot of cases. The cases that I've seen judges reject those are sex offender cases, because when the sex offender goes to prison and goes to a rehabilitation program, they have to admit to what they did. So if they are in court saying, I didn't do this, the government just has evidence that makes it look like I did, and then they go to their offender training or their offender rehab program, and then they say, they have to admit to doing it. That kind of runs counter to what they said in court. I think personally that's a problem for the offender rehab program to deal with, but that's where I've seen judges kind of reject that argument. But typically, yeah, you can plead no contest to a lot of things. There's just you have to go through some different factual sort of analysis on the plea, because you have to justify your guilt to a court. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but you can't just say, yeah, I'm guilty. You typically have to tell the court why you're guilty for the judge to ethically sentence you for a crime. So an Outford plea or a no contest plea allows you to get around some of that, where you plead to some of the facts while, again, maintaining your innocence of the actual act. So for a hypothetical murder, for example, you could admit to the fact that you were in a particular place, that there was blood on your clothing, but you either don't recall pulling the trigger, or some other thing would have prevented you from knowing that you actually killed the person in a hypothetical. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. There we go. It is a weird sort of facet of law. Well, I did it, but I didn't, though. But yeah, you're guilty. That doesn't mitigate your guilt in any way. It just allows you to maintain face for it later. And that can be useful on appeals and other stuff. Like, well, he always maintained this, or if new evidence were to come up. But Moist John says, Null. So far, the entire month of August seems constructed in your favor. Day after talking about Digibro, Cuties. Anyway, we need to be worried. What we need to be worried about is the Dan Schneiders behind the Cuties. Basically, just rich pedos paying for their own porn and prostitutes.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. I think that in an A/B scenario, I think that there is some financing that is pushing to normalize this. But on the other hand, I think that the boots on the ground that make the movies happen are all abusers, and that's why they're in that career, and that's why they make movies like this, is because they want to do the casting.
Yeah,
there are people, and there are parents who are desperate to have their child be a star and will do anything.
Well, that was one of the things that always struck me about one of the first Kevin Spacey accusers, and I think the only guy who's not dead who accused Kevin Spacey was that Anthony Rapp. You know about that, right? Like all the people who accused Kevin Spacey just miraculously died of cancer. Oh, you got to look into it. All like a bunch of Kevin Spacey accusers just randomly dying of very natural causes after he lived his life as a gay man. No, but it was Anthony Rapp, and he talked about, he came out with his Me Too story about Kevin Spacey, and it was the first one to hit. And he was like, well, I was a 14-year-old boy at this party in Hollywood alone. Like, gee, what the fuck is this? Where were your parents? Why were you at a Hollywood party with adults as a 14-year-old without a parent there? But that's the cost of entry, right?
Yeah, it is. And you see like Emma Watson, how Harvey Weinstein like grabbed her. The pictures of Weinstein like controlling her entire body are deeply uncomfortable. And then you think about how, she was cast super young in Harry Potter and all that shit. And it's gross. It makes me hate movies, because everyone in there has been exploited in some way, if not sexually. I'm sure they've all done something.
Yeah. Well, because there's always someone else. There's always the next person.
Exactly. And there's nothing special about those people on the screen. They're just, somewhat attractive, and they can read a line off a script and shit.
Yeah, it's that's why I am so pro democratization of entertainment, where we have that's what I want to see over the next couple decades. Is I really want to see independent productions with the availability of technology and software and hardware that is accessibly affordable. People just creating stuff that blows Hollywood out.
That's the great thing about places like Bollywood and the films coming out from Uganda. It's just that it's people with cameras with really basic editing software who are just putting stuff together in their free time, and it's more entertaining and genuine than anything that studios are making.
Yeah. Well, and I like the rise of Korean cinema has been pretty interesting to watch as well. South Korean cinema, North Korean cinema is just launches.
Parasite and Old Boy are excellent films.
Yeah, I watched.
But then again, I don't know. South Korea is not really paradise on earth either. It has a lot of the same problems the U.S. does.
Yeah. Well, it's a very westernized, in some ways, Eastern country. So but I'm just more talking about like breaching into the entertainment industries. The Hollywood stranglehold on entertainment is being broken down piece by piece, and that's what I want to see. I just want to see more options, new voices, and the gatekeepers going away. And if you take away the gatekeeper's ability to keep you out of entertainment, you take away the gatekeeper's ability to get into your pants. So
yeah.
Well, man, I got a bunch of chats to read, but did you have anything that you wanted to cover before I delve into those? And of course, you're welcome to stay for the chats, but I never want to force anybody to, because I know it's late for me, but it's early for you.
Yeah, I just woke up. That's why my voice sounds weirder than usual. The only thing to add about Russell Greer is that he had a hearing in July and August, and agreed that the victim in the criminal complaint was broadcasting in that Zoom, because I guess they're doing everything by Zoom now, whatever.
Yeah.
But they were Zooming from Scortis's office, so she's definitely being represented by him.
Did he complain about that or anything, or was that just noted?
Oh, what, that they were Zooming? Oh, no, it's just funny because you can see him on, he has to be there, right? So even though his attorney is doing all the talking, you have a constant video feed of him just looking like Russell Greer, like hot and sweaty. His hair is all fucked up. He's like staring down at, camera.
Did you ever watch Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog with Doogie Howser? I can't remember his name. And Nathan Fillion?
No.
It was when the writer's strike happened a while back, and they just got together and they created something while no one else was. It's pretty funny, but one of the villains in there, little side character, was named Moist. And he's always just sweaty and wet, and that's how I think of fucking Russell Greer. Every time you see him, he's just like wet, and it's like, what is wrong with you? I mean, besides the obvious, what is wrong with you? Oh God. And yeah, and you sent that. I should pull that GIF back up, just to remind people real quick what we're talking about with Russell here. I'm gonna grab it again. Oh no, it's gone. My chat disappeared when I got.
I'll send it to you.
Yeeted.
No worries. I of course have this on standby, ready to go at a moment's notice.
Yes.
Here we are. Nice big GIF image to throw out. Okay. Put it in the. It's in the meet chat.
Yeah, I got it. I'm gonna pull it up here for everybody, because that's what we need to do. It needs to be, and the world will know. Here, I'm gonna add it to the screen. Maybe I might even just leave it up while we read chats, because God, it's so good.
Okay. I'll probably stick around for like the next just because I gotta eat breakfast and stuff and get going.
The next how long, you said? Sorry.
About 30 minutes.
Sounds good. I'll burn through them. Let me get Russell up, and then we'll read the chats. Oh my goodness, I've got it way too big. Just a sec. Woo. Here we go. Russell can hang out with us while we read chats, and then that'll be great. All right, let me.
if only you could put that up as like a third camera that's on the line with him.
Oh God, I want those calls to leak, like the Zoom calls with Russell. I want that to leak out.
The transcripts are up.
Yeah, but I want the video. Don't you want to just see him in action? Like he probably didn't have to say much of anything, but just sit him, especially when he gets convicted and found guilty for his no contest, and just sitting there saying he understands.
Really?
What was that?
He doesn't really have an emotive face. Oh my God, I did like a Russell Greer mush
doesn't
mouth.
really have an emotive face. Yeah. All right, let me read through these chats, and in case there's any questions for you. Sigma Zero says, Fire Walk with Me covered the dark side of adolescence with far more dignity and without the Biden bait 30 years ago. Framing tells the whole tale. Dogsplain says, glad my total brainlet comment didn't ruin your day, Jersh. Also, glad to hear things are starting to fall into place for you. Short Round says, I wanted to share my hype. 1, kid started playing Dungeons and Dragons with me, and 2, Spike Cohen, the Libertarian Party vice presidential candidate, held my flag at a rally. We started with a meme. Now we are here. I DM'd it to you on Twitter. Yes, you did. Yes, you did, Short Round. I looked at it. It's great. I'll have to Maybe I'll put it up on the next stream or something. Bo Jiden says, after receiving an early copy of Cuties, I viewed it several times to get a deep understanding of the film. Though derivative at times, the dancing, I mean drama, made up for it. The sexual awakening was as intense as Corn Pop, 9 out of 10 hair sniffs, I mean stars. Jesus Christ. Silky Johnson says, the main reason people and businesses are sucking the cock of BLM is, in my opinion, because of fear. These people will beat you, set your building on fire, make mafia threats, and then call you a bigot. And when you do suck their cock, then bitch that you didn't do more. Maybe. I don't know if they're... I think it's more nihilistic than that. I think they're just like, yeah, whatever, we accept it. Who cares? Keep going. I think it's just easier. Jeff the Gamer says, so a friend of mine wants to know if she can legally hire someone to catfish her friend's husband to prove cheating for a divorce.
Sounds like entrapment. I don't know if it's a thing in like that, but
entrapment. No, it's like entrapment would have to be that'd be a violation of your constitutional rights. So I don't think you can entrap someone civilly. But it might. I don't know if the clean hands doctrine has anything to do with that state's divorce laws, but I'd be very cautious on actual catfishing. There's a difference between private investigation and catfishing.
Because family law is the absolute worst. I'm pretty sure everyone agrees on that.
If not, they do law,
it's really messy. It's very emotional. Nobody wins at the end, and the biggest asshole is always going to be penalized or get the smaller half when the judge is through with it. So, I would advise against doing things that are outright manipulative. As a non-legal person, just a principle in general, do not be manipulative because people will resent you for it.
Yeah. It's if it came out, it would look really bad. It's just not advisable. Knight of Hopex says the actual answer from an actual Christian, I don't know if that's a slight or not, says, is you can only forgive those who have hurt you personally, not random people who hurt somebody else. That and forgiving someone doesn't mean society letting them off the hook for doing whatever they did. That last part I'll definitely agree with. I think you can forgive someone for something even if it doesn't hurt you personally, because in my opinion, forgiveness isn't really about the other person, it's about you. So even if they didn't hurt you personally, but you're holding animus towards that person, you can forgive them and let go of that animus. Like, you can do that for your own benefit. I think forgiveness is really about yourself personally. But that's me. So I don't know. Books Games Pottery says, hey, Nick, just wanted to throw you some pennies since I'm awake and all. Hey, thanks, Books. Flat Sales Tax says, Black Dynamite for movie of the night when? I don't know. I'm not doing a movie tonight, by the way, guys. I got to be up early, so I'm sorry. I got to be up in 6 hours from now. Bad Dragonite says, plot twist, the first episode of the show, they'll have a throwaway line saying the girls are all actually 900-year-old vampire dragonkin, and that means it's all good.
That's true. I can't say anything bad about it then.
Yeah, they should just do a lolicon version of Cuties, right? Then it'll be okay. Siren Jag says, ha, I defeated Russell Greer with an envelope and a sticker. He can scowl impotently behind its opaque brilliance. You lost the case again, Nick. Okay. I don't know what that reference is. Fac Uniga says, your streams keep glitching on me. They randomly reset to 0. Not happening with any other videos. Well, lots of fun stuff happened tonight, so that was good. The Dragon's Treasure says, joke. I used to be an open pedophile, but had to start keeping it a secret so people wouldn't mistake me for being a Democrat. Damn. Mr. Leon says, here's some grift dollars rackets. Just got back from a car crash. Idiot rear-ended me when I was at a red light. Jeez. Well, I hope you...
I think you would want to save money in that instance and not...
No way. That's
not pay to advertise it.
That's on the guy who rear-ended him. He just paid for that super chat.
Oh, okay.
And as your lawyer, I'll demand 30% of whatever you recover. Lil Poo-Poo says, Null, would you feed a feminazi like Nick Karen? I think they're talking about me because of my haircut. Would you feed me, Null? Feed me like one of your French girls?
Oh, how is that a Karen haircut? You have like fashy shaved sides. How was that Karen?
I think because when it's really floofy, it's worse. Like if I just get out of the shower and just kind of comb it down, it'll puff up a bit, and I look like a proper muff diver. Fred Rush MD, welcome to Super Lawyer. Thank you. Oflameo says Null is interracial porn degenerate.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is it specifically degenerate, or is all porn degenerate, or is just this particular subcategory?
Specifically.
Okay, why? I want to know that. Like, this is interesting to me.
Because it encourages it. It's normalization.
Normalization of miscegenation? Is that what you're...
Yes.
Oh, okay. I did not expect that take from you. That's interesting.
There's no joke. I'm being serious. Sorry.
No, that's you are welcome to that opinion. I didn't expect it, so I'm waiting for the troll response, but it's not. That's great.
I'm usually so open-minded, Nick.
Yeah, but you are I think we've talked about you being opposed to race mixing in the past. Now that I think about it. Is that right? Or am I remembering that wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think so. I just think, especially in a democracy, that the most, like for instance, the most functional countries in Africa are the ones that have the smallest number of tribes. Botswana has 6. A place like Somalia will have like 40 different tribes. If you want people to be able to get together and argue the finer points of legislation, they have to already be pretty close on the same page. And I country is the harder it is for democracy to actually function.
But wouldn't the counter argument be the words of the prophet Warren Beatty when he said, we just have to keep on fucking and fucking and fucking till we're all the same color? Then it'd be one tribe, right?
That is the end goal of globalization. Completely eradicate race by making everyone completely congruent to one another. No genders, no tribes, no identities, no different languages. We'll all speak English. We'll all be a indeterminate color of brown, and we will all be the same kind of non-religion, basically. And that way we'll just do what we're told, and we don't have any conflict.
That's interesting.
I think that's my schizo take.
I think interracial porn at least strays into degeneracy just because of the fetishization of black men, like of black men. Because interracial porn just means typically black man, white woman, like 95% of the
No. Even WA. What is it?
No, I
don't know.
I
even
know
with
it
like
actually.
Asian women.
I know it encompasses. Yeah, it could be Asian women, but I'm saying the majority of when you're like interracial is picked as the porn category, it's almost entirely like black men, white woman. Like that's the majority of it. But I think it's the fetishization of it which makes me very uncomfortable. But you know, to each their own. I don't care what people jerk off to. Well, I do to some extent.
Careful.
Yeah. We've talked about my problems with people jerking off to kids. Don't do that. And if you do, get Courtney loved. Bob Dobbs says, do you think Ethan Ralph and Andy Worski had sex? I really don't, but God, it would make an interesting arc, wouldn't it? If that were true. But again, I have the bigger question of why did Coach, if that happened, why would Coach sit there and film it? Because gasoline.
He's a cinematographer. He has an appreciation for the kino. Nick, you don't understand it. When something's going on that is making history, Coach has that instinct, that guerrilla instinct to pull up and make history on record.
No, get gasoline and stop the abomination immediately with fire. That's what I say.
So that's your authoritarian right. Coach is that libertarian right.
Coach wins this round. Spurg McBurg says, hey, Nick, always enjoy Null on the stream. Glad he was full of it when he said he was done coming on streams for a while. Did you say...
Yeah, I was really apprehensive. I said on stream, I think my exact words were... I probably shouldn't go on stream. And then like 10 minutes later, say, I should go on Nick's stream and talk about Greer. And then immediately after, like, I probably not. Probably not a good idea. Because everyone I talk to seems to fire sooner rather than later.
Someone mentioned it, that you had said that, and I was like, no, of course I'd have you on, because I always enjoy our chats, and I don't really, gay drama is gay drama. I don't really care about any of that shit, aside from just laughing at some of it. But Tet says that Bidening ad is the best ad for Spirit Halloween I've seen. Anim CM says your stream got killed by Joe and Blow. Sika Loather says, hello, Null, huge fan. What would it take for you to unban Colonel J? Why was he banned in the first place? You mentioned why he was banned in the first place. So what would it take for it to unban him? Would he have to go onto every stream and type
sure
bad stream?
On an alt. No, there's a 1,000% possibility that Colonel J is already on the forum on an alt, and he's just being quiet about it because he's one of those people who will never go away.
Sika Loather also says, it has been known for a while that Digibro is a degenerate. Why wait till now to use him as the reason to cut ties with Dick Masterson? You had asked for people not to really comment or not to ask about that. So if you don't want to answer, that's fine. But if you do, you can.
The full conversation is on multiple channels now. If you're curious, I would listen to it. My point was that it was several things. And in particular, the way he was very personally defending Digibro and Ralph after the sex tape made me think that I do think that Digibro is an at-risk offender, because I will talk about Digibro because I don't care. But
sure.
He is partners with someone who is also a self-professed lolicon, and women who are attracted to children are especially dangerous because children instinctively trust women more than men. In the Elizabeth Smart case, she was lured away by a woman who was working with a man who was on. And I just think that with this constant emboldening and ass patting, Digibro and Pantsu will feel comfortable doing something like that. And I think when it happens, I want my last conversation with anyone involved with them to be a year ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't trust them at all, and I don't know how anyone could. The Digibro has nothing whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know that I don't recall ever personally interacting with him. So I just remember hearing him talk about jerking off to Lolicon. I was like, bold stance, pal. It's a bit much for me. BTL Video Production says, so that's why mainstream media attacks YouTubers and independent media so often. They need their kiddie pools. Can't do that without money. Can't do that when there's a better market out there. Well, yeah, all media, legacy media is all afraid of new media. They really are. And that's why they moved on to new media as well. I mean, and the problem is that new media companies like YouTube, for example, are trying to embrace legacy media stuff, which is why you have CNN on YouTube, which is bullshit.
Because those companies are now paying YouTubes and Netflixes to operate a certain way, and the infrastructure requirements is extraordinary. People don't know this, but when I was looking into ISP requirements and doing research on how people were arguing against net neutrality, which I am still for, by the way, they were talking Netflix uses a considerable chunk of all bandwidth on the internet. And one of the ways that Netflix reduces bandwidth is they sell these boxes for about $10,000 that ISPs can use to plug into, and basically shows on Netflix get downloaded to this box that has about 10 terabytes of storage or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
No, not terabytes. The next step up. It's a
petabytes, right?
Incredible. Yeah, it's an incredible amount of space. And what it does is it synchronizes with Netflix, and it reduces bandwidth because all the consumers connect to that box before they connect to Netflix. So they download the movie one time as it continually syncs with Netflix, and it overall internet bandwidth consumption considerably for that service provider. I forgot why I was talking about this.
Net neutrality.
I got lost. Before that.
Well, we were talking about the question was that there's. Oh, we were talking about legacy media moving into the new media space. And stuff like that.
Sorry, I got lost daydreaming about data centers again.
Yeah.
No,
well, now we know you're poor.
Nobody has the capital. Yeah, nobody has the capital investment to replace Netflix or especially YouTube. People have tried to do streaming services on their own. Even with me, I have so much infrastructure over what a normal person has. I have my own cab, I have my own hardware, I have my own contracts, I have my own router. But to stream like this, 2,500 people are watching this at 1080p, and that's probably about 3,000 kilobits per. Times that by another 3,000 or whatever, and it is about 9 gigabits of data just for this one stream. And that's not even considering what would be required to convert that down to different versions. You need graphics cards for that. It is hard to make a streaming service. So it's competition really is vile. And especially when someone tries to make competition and they get Z-lined by the fucking credit card. The old media does control the new media already. And it's a shame. That's why if things feel less free for you right now, that's why. It's because the old companies have opted to buy the new companies. And
you can actually, there's a beautiful moment on YouTube where they announced the switch, and it was when channels like Crowder, Ben Shapiro, The Daily Wire, or whatever, all of those shows, the traffic was way up here, and the traffic for like CNN and New York Times, all of those channels was really low. And then there was an announcement that YouTube was going to retool its algorithm, and you can read that as those companies started paying in rather than taking out, and the views inverted for all of that. So all of the news stories got prioritized to legacy news media. And that's why CNN will get millions of views on a clip when you would rather see anybody else but Anderson Cooper say it. It's ridiculous.
And it's worse with it used to be that Google was very good about not fucking with their core product, which is the search engine. But Google is fucking with their core product now, which is the search engine. And I can go to my webmaster tools and look at the Kiwi Farms performance, and I can see days a button, and they fucked with my search optimization. Like, they reduced the quality of the search results by 90% or more. And for certain people like Liz Fyong Jones, who is a ex-Googler who's used her @google.com email address to threaten my email provider.
I hate that shit.
If you search her name, you get she's completely scrubbed from Kiwi Farms. You have to type in Liz Fyong Jones Kiwi Farms to get any results for her. And it's the same with a lot of other people now too. Purge on information, predominantly protecting people who are progressive. If you search certain right-leaning names, the Kiwi Farms is still their top result. And I know when they're purged because as the webmaster, if I type in a search term that has results on the Kiwi Farms, I'll get like a box saying your links for your site are usually on position 1 to 50 if it's a bad result or a generic term, and they've gone up this much in the last month. Fyong Jones, which is definitely a thing that has a presence on my forum, I get no information about that term because they purged it, and there is no result for it.
When I talked to you about this a long time ago when my channel was kind of just getting off the ground, the SEO on my page, ever since I covered the James Damore Google case and called a bunch of people who identified as buildings mentally handicapped or whatever, my search results on the video results for Google were skewed towards negative perceptions of me rather than much higher performing videos. And there was no way to undo it. It was crazy. It just took a lot of time. But when you went into the actual YouTube search, it changed. The results were completely different. It was literally just Google search, but it was great. they started doing that, and they deny it, but it's pretty obvious. I hate them. Fred Rush MD says the corn will reach record highs with the sacrifice that is Ralph's considerable mass. So that's a prediction for the future, I suppose. Hold on, I have to find where I was here. Okay, Smokestack Red says, no joke, the DNC is saying Joe Biden has a stutter problem and has had it his whole life. Yeah, I've heard about Joe Biden's stutter. I don't listen to him, so who cares? Diabetes says, Twinkies and armpit cream did nothing wrong. That sounds disgusting.
That's a reference to 2 users that got banned for a week yesterday.
Oh, okay. Attica Ray says, wouldn't that logic for banning fiction that sexualizes children, even cartoons, naturally lead to banning fiction with abuse of women / all violence? Quote, it normalizes and incentivizes real life abuse.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's a real, it's really hard for me to advocate for banning drawings. Though I think it has to be like a societal approach. People have to say, I don't tolerate this, and if you're into it, I don't want to know you. Yeah,
and it could, but at the same time, like we currently ban child pornography, and we don't ban regular porn, even though a lot of people think porn is abusive and damaging, because we take particular care for kids because they don't have the power, they don't have the autonomy that an adult does. They just don't. And that's where that's the only difference in that. But slippery slope, it certainly could go that way. Lorgar Apologist says, I'm beginning to understand the loyalist desire to purge worlds in fire. Only Fulgrim would find this to be anything other than vile. Even after 10,000 years, you mortals still disturb me. Blackwing02 says, screw Netflix. They lost me as a customer when they removed the D&D episode over blackface. Chang was cosplaying a drow. Yep, that's the reference to Community. Community D&D episode was great.
Yeah, I heard that.
And
it's just funny. They're going back and deleting things retroactively that were offensive. I remember when Disney published like all their old stuff that's offensive or inappropriate today, like Songs of the South, where you have the tar baby and the Brer Rabbit punching, the tar baby, which is an allegory for like a black child. And they publish it and they just put like a little notice at the front, like saying, this is how things were, there's no point trying to delete it now. But now it's like, fuck it, delete that shit. We don't want to get we have to be kosher for Passover. Otherwise we're going to lose our firstborns.
Well, I
it's like
when they censored and removed the award for Laura Ingalls Wilder's Little House on the Prairie, because in the discussions about prairie life, they said derogatory comments about Native Americans. It's like, they were a danger to them. And the time period that they're talking about was right around the time of the massacre. I can't remember what it was called, but the massacre in Minnesota, where the natives went and they just killed a couple families. Because Abraham Lincoln didn't give them money during the Civil War, and that's why they did it. But yeah, so they had negative perceptions over Indians. Of course, they might have been racist back then. But yeah, strip her of all the awards and censor it in the book. That makes fucking sense.
Oh, I'm gonna have to jump off soon. Can you? Is there any other like specific message towards me I should answer?
There may be, but I don't know. Let's see. Null's opinion on childlike real dolls and lolly hentai. Oh wait, you actually addressed that one.
I answered that one.
Null. This is from Ransu. Null, yes or no? Would Cuties be more acceptable if it were a lolly anime?
Yeah, because there wouldn't be real kids. That's the whole point of the movie being produced, is that it's to get these kids to be in casting and vulnerable positions with adults that they trust, who are their agents and shit. That's the whole point.
Okay, I got one more for you. It says, Null, I wish you were against net neutrality. I'm against it because it's nothing more than backdoor SOPA or PIPA. It will let government to manipulate the internet even more than what they're doing, like to the farms, as you just said, with scrubbing info. That's from Mercenary X.
Net neutrality has history that goes back to the telephone, to the origin of the telephone. It's been in place since the 1990s. People who think that it only came about during the Obama era are being misled by forces who want to intentionally mislead you. Net neutrality oversaw the .com boom. It oversaw oversaw the periods of time where the internet was most free. It should be a fundamental right to be able to connect to whatever service you want without any sort of impediment on quality to connection. People who think that net neutrality is some kind of government backward censorship don't understand that the whole point of it is to make sure you can connect to whatever you want to connect to. You should be in support of net neutrality. I don't give a fuck if Reddit isn't it. I know that Google supports it. Google supporting it is an obvious business interest because YouTube consumes a ton of internet bandwidth. So if you're watching this right now on YouTube, you should be thankful that your ISP is not throttling your connection to YouTube.
Oh, sounds like it's throttling your connection. Fuck.
Oh, is my connection going bad?
It cut out right after you said YouTube.
Yeah, I've lived in the Philippines. They do not have net neutrality in the Philippines. They do bundle connections in the Philippines for a month. You can only access a couple sites, including Facebook, which is why the Philippines is the #1 consumer of Facebook in the entire world. That's all they can afford because their internet is segregated. So definitely support net neutrality.
There we go. Well, I think I'll let you out on that statement because it was good. It was good stuff.
Yeah, I've been saying it for years. Someone pointed out Josh has been practicing this one. Yes, it's I'm not unpopular because Trump put fucking the Verizon lawyer Pajit shit in the street pie as fucking the FCC chairman, and he did the whole shindig about how it's a big media conspiracy and everyone believes it because Trump did it and Trump must know what he's talking about. No, fuck that guy. Fuck Trump for putting him in. I fuck Trump for undoing net neutrality. It should be. I mean, valid argument against what Trump has done is that yes, it should be a law. It should be outlined that the internet has to be equal. ISPs can't fuck with your connection, and it should not be just a FCC regulation.
So, well, there you go, man. I'll let you peace out. Thanks so much for joining me. I always enjoy talking to you, and it's always a good show when you come on. So, I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, man. Have a good day.
All right. Yep.
Peace.
Take it.
Okay. Let me what did my stream deck die out? What the hell? Can we Oh boy. Just a second. Nothing works. There we go. Okay, I think I've got it now. Let me just fix the chat window here. And all right. Well, that was Null. Very happy to have him on. Like I said, always a good discussion with him on. And I'm going to go ahead and persist in finishing up these super chats. I hope I didn't miss any that were specifically to him. But it, time limits are time limits, and he's got stuff to do today. So let's get back to this. Mercenary X says, while I agree with everyone that pedophiles going after real kids is a problem and they should be sent into space without oxygen, I just have a problem of those who go after drawings as if they're real people. That is a sign of mental illness and zealotness. And then he says, it's the reason why I'm so suspicious of anyone who screams something is indecent. 9 times out of 10, in my experience, the people screaming that something's indecent is projecting their guilty conscience. I can't begin to describe the encounters. Uber drivers, something. It cuts off there. And then he also says, I believe in the slippery slope. Look at the world around us. And unfortunately, I have to apply that theory to everything, especially how it got us to the point where kids are being taken away from their fathers to be made into trans by crazy moms. So there is that. You want me to get Russell Greer back on? I don't actually have him. I don't have a thing for that on here, so no. I don't have a thing to put him up on this chat. I only have it in the other one, and it's weird. It's weird right now because there's now there's a blank space. But I know that seems dumb, but it's true. Joey Jojo says, I love the double standards when it comes to sexualization. Uzaki and busty adult anime characters are wrong, but twerking tweens are perfectly fine. Yep, that's a problem. But that's how it goes. Michael Tynan says, hey, Nick, I read on Twitter that the movie is fine and is great art, you hedonistic barbarian you. It may be. To be fair to the movie, I haven't seen it yet. It could fully blow my expectations and be great. Unfortunately, I'll never know because I'd rather have gasoline poured into my eyes than watch it. Sika Loather says, I go on the kill stream to talk about the Pajit question. Quantum Frankie Theory says, pedos get the wall, no exceptions. Fred Rush MD says, praise you and Snaj Heart. Vepper says, we have pub banking in Brazil. Lines on app, not just kidding. I think I saw someone say, it might have been you as well, say that public banking in Brazil shut down the economy a couple times. Sika Loather says, you serfs of the capitalists, your government are the puppets of the corporations and the capitalists. I laugh at you from the great motherland. Gusta Jui says, do you think they were sexualizing children? In the Cuties movie, yes, I do. Richmeister84 says, Null's opinion on childlike... Oh, we read that one. Russian Bot Lounge, the message was retracted. I don't know what it said. Mysterious Senor Hilter says, milk money is about some 14-year-old boys that gather all their allowance and lawn mowing money and try to pay a woman to show them the goods. Well, there you go. That's not... It is putting children into somewhat of a sexual situation, but it's not sexualizing the children for the audience. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, I've never seen it. Bad Vibe says, of all of Soundwave's cassettes, what is your favorite and why is it Rumble? I like Frenzy better than Rumble. Also Rambat because the name is funny. Let's see. Next, we've got Skeetneat says, just wanted to remind the Null and the Jews that autistic people are God's chosen people, says so in the Talmud. I'll make sure and let Null know. Unknown Existence says, hey, Nick, did you know that Peach Saliva and her short, balding, ginger French-Canadian boyfriend support Black Lives Matter and took pictures with Chris Chan once? No, I didn't. What I do know is I've met Peach, and she is very nice. And she's always been nice to me. So, Weirdo with a cello says, want to remind Skeetneat that God is autism and we are his spurgs? Skeetneat, yes, there you go. Samael527 says, I propose we make it a felony for a court to not have e-filing. Yes. Also, Samael says, what if we took all the ex-con pedos and put them on an island, and then we filmed it and put it on pay-per-view to pay for the cost of maintenance? Pedo Island on TLC. And I think that, wouldn't that just be Escape from LA? Ninja Work 101 says, Null, why did you change your mind on the lolly question since January where you said there was zero correlation between lolly and pedos? Damn it. I didn't see this, unfortunately. However, I believe Null answered this question on the Kiwi Farms, or one of the Kiwis did. I don't know. I read his explanation. But basically, I think what he saw was that there was a correlation. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. I apologize that I didn't see it prior to this. Alec W says, Mark 942, whoever causes one of the little ones who believes in me to sin, it would be better for him if a great millstone were hung around his neck and he were thrown into the sea. Excellent Bible verse. Keck7 Ghost says, shout out to Books, the most beautiful and based woman in the world. Books is great. Fred Rush MD says, Books is so nice, and I'm so glad her and Neil are happily married now. Me too. Me too. Samael527 says, any plans to go on EFAP? Are you familiar with the YouTuber Mauler? I would happily go on EFAP, but I think they said that they'd want a particular subject to have me on. Happy to do so. I'm familiar vaguely with it. I hear I have to set aside like a whole day. And by a whole day, I mean 24 hours for the stream. But I'm okay with that. Joseph Knight says, you can't get in trouble with women if you're only attracted to men. Big thank emote. Daniel Thomas, welcome to super lawyer status. Thank you. Nova Zero says, South Korea has a modern history worth knowing. ESJ says, hey, how hard is law school? At age 37 is smooth sailing. When could I expect to be able to take the exam and begin practice law? Can I skip law school and take the exam? If so, best websites and books to study. Most states require you to either attend law school or to attend an apprenticeship program with a practicing attorney or a law firm. You got to check your own states out on that. When would you be able to take the exam? Typically 3 years. You can maybe do it in 2.5, but I think 3 is kind of that's the full-time schedule is 3 years without summers. If you throw in summers, you might be able to go faster. And then once you graduate, you just have to take the next exam, the next bar exam, which would be every 6 months they're offered. So, and then you have to take the bar exam and wait like 3 months for your results. And then you can get admitted. You're looking at a time window on average of 3.5 to 4 years. If you have an undergraduate degree, and this is all, of course, for the United States, you have to have an undergraduate degree, a bachelor's of something, before you can go to law school. Phoenix Lord Asserman says, thanks for the stream tonight, guys. It's been interesting background noise for work. Hey, you're welcome. Thank you. Cormoran says, Russell has the angriest Ahageo face I've ever seen. Yes. Bad Vibes says, of course Netflix needs petabytes, with Lollywood especially. Internet Conman says, Epstein theory. First, a CIA Mossad op to gather dirt. Then pedo clients talk. Recommend Epstein independently of Black Ops honeypot plants. Once dirt exists on allies, not just enemies, they lost control. Could be. Could be anything at this point, frankly. Ransu says, Lolly should not be illegal and doesn't mean one is a pedo, but if I knew someone was into it, I would never let them babysit my kids. Yeah, I think that's Josh's position and pretty similar to mine as well. Big Red Bear says, it's absolutely pathetic that this is a thing right now. That trailer is pure cancer. The message of that film is lost because it's rated M. Stupid. And Ransu says, what is the legal age of consent for cartoon characters in your state? They have to be drawn at least 10 minutes ago, I think. So if you draw lewds, you have to wait 10 minutes to beat off to them. And Ransu says, is thinking about a crime and committing a crime the same thing? No. No, of course not. And that's what, that's been my position on Lolly as well, is that I don't think it should be banned. I just don't. I wish people wouldn't do it. And I know there are various finely configured distinctions of different types of lolly, and not all of it's sexualized. I'm obviously talking about the sexualized aspect of it. So that's, let's see. 2 more. Mercenary X says, sorry, I meant to say before it got cut off that I can't begin to describe the number of times I've met those who are guilty of projecting their guilty conscience while I was doing Uber and Lyft driving. The insanity I encountered scares me. It is bad out there. And also, to Null's answer to net neutrality, unfortunately, it's declassification, and I have to agree with Razorfist on how he put it in his video on net neutrality. The stuff that Trump got rid of was not real net neutrality. It was the backdoor commies. And that's always been kind of my position on it too. I think that they called it net neutrality and it wasn't actually net neutrality. And in principle, I think I agree with a lot of what Null said. I just don't think that Obama's plan had anything to do with it. Ransu says, are Peanuts comics considered lolly? I have no idea. So, all right, guys, that's it. That's the show. Now that Null's not on it, I can play the outro for you. So I will do that. Unfortunately, tonight, guys, I will not be doing a watch party. I will not be going on Twitch because I have to be in a car in less than 6 hours. So I got to go to bed. I gotta go to bed. So thanks, guys, for hanging out. As always, thanks for entertaining me and Josh with your questions. And I hope you are all just a little bit more based and red-pilled after that. And also a little cringe-pilled as well. Satchel78 sent a nice doggo. Thank you very much for that. And Malik Foxon says, I can confirm the Uber confessions. Here's some crazy shit while you're out there driving people. Had a couple arguing in the back seat because the husband wasn't giving the lady enough penis. Very awkward. What you should have done was turned around and handed the lady your card. That would have been a funny joke. So, check racket streaming. I don't have Discord pulled up on this computer because it rebooted in the middle of the damn show. Just a second. Let me get it. I'm looking. Oh, Siren. I see, Siren, how you defeated Russell Greer. That's nice. What else am I checking? Oh. No. The Bidening picture? That's terrible. That's disgusting. I'm going to put that up on the next stream. So, all right, guys. Thanks for hanging out tonight. Have a good night. Peace. Peace.
The one who is showcasing us his career. Get unemployed, so pour out a glass for the T-post on Twitter as we hear Lost Blaming tonight. From the white shores of Nam to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the thought better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law